zoning board of adjustment of the township of Bloomfield is now in session for the regular meeting of September 22nd, 2021. Notice and time date of this meeting was sent in on 48 hours prior to commencement of this meeting in the following manner: pursuant to provisions of Chapter 231 of the law of 1975, also known as Open Public Meeting 1, by posting such notice on the bulletin board of the municipal buildings and two, by mailing such notices to the offices of the Independent Press, Bloomfield Life, and Star Legend. Due to the ongoing pandemic and the efforts to prevent further spread of COVID-19, this meeting will be held remotely. The public is invited to attend by accessing the meeting either by telephone or video link. The meeting will also be available for you on Channel 30 by Comcast, Channel 30 Verizon, or streaming live on Facebook or Township website. The public is invited to participate via Zoom by accessing the website link provided by the board secretary. You are using the telephone number below, I don't see.
It's there.
846-558-6656.
646-558-8656.
Alright. If you would like to review any material prior to the meeting or during or after the meeting, have any questions, please contact the board secretary, Nicole Cosenza, and or 973-680-4012. With all that having been said, Mr. Cosenza, please call the roll.
Okay. Ms. Brown?
Hello, present.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Johnson?
Present.
Mr. Prince?
Present.
Mr. Balnicki?
Present.
Mr. Wagner?
Present.
Chairman Michalski?
Here.
6. Also in attendance is the board's engineer, Anthony Marucci, the board's attorney, Michael Rubin, and representing the board planner from Nishawayne, Steve Martini.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, and for the record, Ms. Tolliver, Mr. Stivers, and Ms. Hilaire are all absent. Now I'm done.
Thank you.
Okay.
Item 2 on the agenda this evening is communications and cabinet communications. We do have resolutions, however, even though not listed. Board, there were 3 resolutions distributed in draft form in advance of this meeting for your review. Resolutions and more like actions taken by this board at early meetings. The first resolution I have before me is the resolution on the board of assessment in matter of the application of Alice Mary Hanson, the variance is pursuant to NJS 640:55D/7C, to authorize the illegal widening of the driveways does not access a garage, and the installation of a 6-foot solid fence in the front and side yard, and for design related to the proximity of the driveway to a lot line property located at 212 Hoover Avenue, Block 736, Lot 12. Board, is there any discussion regarding this resolution? Here? No one?
No.
Hearing no one, may I have a motion to approve this resolution?
This one could be either Mr. Balnicki, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Prince, Mr. Wagner, or Chairman Michalski.
Mr. Chairman, I will move this.
All right, Mr. Johnson moves, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Valnicki, second, call the roll, please.
Okay. Mr. Balnicki,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Prince,
Yes.
Mr. Wagner,
Yes.
Chairman Michalski.
Yes. Motion carries, resolution is approved. Second resolution, the Township of Bloomfield Zoning Board of Adjustment, the resolution of the application of Carlos M. Pomaris and Natasha M. Pomaris for variance to NJSA 40.7C for rear and side yard setback encroachments and excessive building coverage with construction of an addition to a detached four-car garage accessory to a single-family dwelling at the property located at 56 Monroe Place, block 281, lot 289. Board, any discussion regarding this? Hearing no one, may I have a motion to approve this resolution?
This one can be Mr. Okay, who was that?
Doesn't matter. I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Mr. Valnick, we moved it, is there a second?
I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Prince, seconds. Please call the board.
Okay. Mr. Balnicki?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Prince?
Yes.
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Chairman Machowski?
Yes. Motion carries, resolution is approved. And that brings us to the final resolution for consideration this evening, board. The resolution of the Township of Lincoln Zoning Board of Adjustment, the matter of the application of Wayne and Chin for lot coverage variance pursuant to NJS 40.170C permitting construction of a patio in the rear yard of a single-family dwelling at the property located at 9 Rutgers Place, block 1296, lot 3. Or any discussion, board, regarding this resolution? I hear no one. May I have a motion to approve that resolution, please?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Prince moves. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Wagner seconds. Please call the board.
Mr. Balnicki?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Prince?
Yes.
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Chairman Machowski?
Yes. Motion carries. Resolution is approved. Moving on to item 3 on the agenda, this is upcoming applications considered for review by the Board of Planner or the Board's traffic engineer. We have no such applications to discuss. So moving right along, the old business, item 4A, under old business is the application of New Singular Wireless PCS LLC, AT&T, as applicant and National Church Residence MS number 6/Kinder Tower as owner for a conditional use variance, minor site plan approval, and any such other relief that may be required for zoning ordinance of Township of Greenfield to install a rooftop communication facility in Garden Apartment RG zone on premises known as map 26, block 697, lot 1, better known as 100 Hoover Avenue. And is there
It's-
counsel for the applicant?
It's 400 Hoover Avenue?
It says 400 Hoover Avenue.
Oh, okay, I thought you said 100. I apologize, Chairman.
Hi, Judy Fairweather.
100 times 4.
Thank you.
Hi, Judy Fairweather on behalf of AT&T as the attorney for the application tonight. We believe we have a very nice application in front of you. We are conditionally permitted use. We are stealthing the antennas on top of the building to match the building. We do need a variance under your ordinance. Antennas can only go above the parapet by 3 feet. Ours actually go up at 7.58 feet. Some of that is the stealthing, and I'll have my radio frequency engineers start to explain why the height for the antennas and why they can't be flush mounted. Then I have my engineer who will explain to you exactly what we're doing from an engineering standpoint, and then finally my planner. I do know you have several applications after us, and since we are a condition permitted use, I'm going to go kind of quickly to get out of your way. If I go too fast, please just tell me to slow down. Okay, Mr. Chair?
Please proceed.
Okay. Dan, let's start with you. Daniel Panessa is my radio frequency engineer, and he has his right hand up.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Just state your name for the record.
First name Daniel, last name Penesso, P-E-N-E-S-S-O.
Educational professional background?
Yes, I have a Bachelor of Science in Electronic Engineering. I have been employed as a radio frequency engineer for over 20 years. I have testified throughout the state of New Jersey with regards to design and implementation of wireless networks, such as what's being proposed before the board tonight, and has been accepted as an expert witness with regards to design implementation hundreds of times throughout the state of New Jersey and New York.
Okay, Dan, I'm going to stop you there. I offered Dan as my expert in radio frequency engineering.
Any discussion, board? Board will accept Mr. Finesso as an expert in radio frequency engineering.
Thank you.
Okay. And Dan, you are responsible for the site before the board this evening for AT&T, correct?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So Dan, explain the most, I guess the only real issue here, the only thing that's out of the ordinary for the ordinance is the fact that the antennas are an extra 4.58 feet above what's allowed. Why are the antennas on the roof above the parapet?
Yes, so in order for us to achieve the azimuth, due to the positioning of the building, we had to go on top of the roof. If we were to flush mount the antennas on the facade of the building, the arrays would extend outside the building. We couldn't flush mount them onto the building to get the azimuth that we need to achieve to provide the level of coverage that we need to fulfill this gap in coverage for this particular search area.
So if you tried to put them next to the building or up against the building, they would just be hanging off to the side and be going in different angles, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so why don't we talk about the current coverage we have and why you need this site? I just wanted to talk about that right away because that's really the variance we need. Everything else we need all the other conditions.
Yes, so this site is necessary to provide coverage along Hoover Avenue, Broad Street, Bay Avenue, John F. Kennedy Drive, East Passaic Avenue, Essex Avenue, and all that surrounding area that I mentioned, as well as businesses and residences in this area. Do you want me to share an exhibit to show the neighboring coverage?
Yeah, please. So we submitted with our application propagation map, the existing coverage without the site on the air, and then the coverage if the site was approved. So Dan, I assume the first one.
The first one?
Yeah, since it was submitted with the application, should we mark it as exhibit 1 or just refer to it?
Mark it as A1.
A1, okay. So that would be A1, and then Dan, it is the existing neighboring coverage?
So A1 is titled Map 1, AT&T Neighboring Coverage, and this is identified, and this was done on October 15th on 2020. Approximately in the center of the map is the yellow star with our site identifier W522, which is AT&T's site identifier for this particular site. On the map, you're going to see purple dots, which represent AT&T's existing sites. And then you see purplish blue and green, which is the coverage being provided by those on-air sites. The purplish blue represents reliable in-building coverage, and green represents reliable in-vehicle coverage. The area that we're trying to fulfill with this site is, you can see here, we have unreliable coverage, which is in white. That I'm circling with my cursor right now. This is the area that we're trying to fulfill with this proposed installation.
And Dan, just for the record, you prepared this propagation map?
I did. Yes, I
Okay,
did.
great. Okay. Now, if the board was to grant this application, what would our coverage look like?
Yes, I'll share another exhibit, which was submitted with the application.
And we'll call that A2 and you'll tell us the title of it?
Yes, and now this exhibit which I'm sharing is titled Map 2, AT&T Proposed Composite Coverage. And now this represents, if the site were approved and integrated into AT&T's network, the area that I showed in the prior exhibit, how it's being fulfilled with this installation if it's approved. So we can hand it off to our existing on-air sites and provide seamless, reliable coverage within AT&T's network with this site.
And then Dan, let's talk about AT&T's coverage. Besides the fact that it's telephone and, you know, it's used by medical professionals, business people, their computers, and all sorts of data, there's something called FirstNet that AT&T is also was awarded by the FCC. Can you tell us what that is, please?
Yes, so AT&T was selected by the First Network Authority to provide a network nationwide where first responders, if there was ever an emergency, within a 700 megahertz band would be dedicated solely to first responders. Because we have issues when we have an emergency with wireless networks. If the network gets bogged down, then people can't access the network. So this specific band with a block of frequencies would be dedicated solely for first responders so that they could communicate and be interoperable between different municipalities nationwide. Every new site that AT&T is building, as well as existing on-air sites, are going to be implemented or upgraded to have this 700 megahertz block implemented and to have access to the first responders network authority who are on AT&T's network. They'll have a special SIM card, which will allow them the access in case there's an emergency.
And Dan, this was done because after 9/11, the different counties in New Jersey couldn't talk to each other, New Jersey couldn't talk to New York. Everyone had their own separate systems and they couldn't migrate together, correct?
Correct.
And this is supposed to cure that.
That's correct.
Okay, great. And just for the record, AT&T is licensed by the FCC?
Yes, AT&T is licensed by the FCC.
And then you did the power analysis to see if the power output of this site would comply with both the New Jersey Radiation Protection Act and the FCC regulations, correct?
That's correct, yes. It's in full compliance, well below the FCC general population MPE limit.
Okay, great. I do not have any more questions for you.
Board
Oh,
questions?
one more. Dan, in your professional opinion, we need this site in order to provide that free blue coverage in that whole area, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, now I don't have any more questions.
Board questions?
You have one question, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Mr. Panesso, you had mentioned, I just want to clarify something. So is the ban that's being added while there's no emergency, is this for consumer use or is this specifically reserved for emergency use only?
No, if there is no emergency going on, it will be used within the network.
Okay.
Once an emergency occurs, then that is dedicated for the first responders network authority.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
That's it for me.
Any other questions, board?
Mr. Chairman, I have one quick question.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Panesso. Are these antennae, and I apologize, I'm not that familiar with the coverage of antennae between the different wireless networks, but are they shared between the different wireless companies, or is this strictly to service AT&T?
So this is solely for AT&T's network. Every carrier has their own licensed blocks of frequencies, and they operate independently. It's not shared.
Okay, all right. So someone like Verizon could have a totally different coverage map, is that correct?
That's correct, yes, based on their existing sites and their needs. That's
Okay.
correct,
All right, thank you.
yes.
Anyone else on board? Board's experts have any questions?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Any member of the public? Is there any member of the public who has a question?
I don't see
Here's
any.
that
No.
Thank you, Mr. Vanessa.
Thank you.
All right, next I will go with my civil engineer, Ekta. Can you raise your right hand and state your name, please?
I'm going to swear her in first. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Just state your name for the record.
Ekta Shah, S-H-A-H.
Thank you.
Ekta, can I have your educational professional background, please?
Sure. Ekta Shah, working for KMB Design Group with the business address 1800 Route 34 in Wall Township, New Jersey. I have a master's of degree in the field of civil engineering. I am a licensed professional based of New York and New Jersey and have designed and testified for several of the wireless telecommunication facilities similar to this one.
And Ekta, you are responsible for working with AT&T to the plans before the board this evening?
Yes.
I offer Ekta as my licensed engineer.
Board, any questions? Board or Stephanie Shaw as a licensed professional engineer and civil engineer.
Great, thank you. Ekta, can you please explain to the board what we're proposing? You guys, I'm sorry, I will turn off my time. Can you please explain to the board what we're proposing?
Sure. I'm going to try and see if I can share my screen.
Okay.
And these are, and when you get the site plans up, please just give us the rev date so we all make sure we're looking at the correct plan.
Can you see my screen?
We see your, oh, there, yes, perfect. So, Hector, what's the date on the plan?
The plan prepared by my firm are dated December 15, 2020, revision 0. The plans show that the site is located on lot 100, lot 697. The existing building is a 7-story residential building. We are proposing to install,
I'm gonna ask that we mark this A3, even if it's something that's handed in, we always mark what's shown.
Okay, great. And it's a set of, there's many sheets to it, so can we just refer to A3 sheet V1, V2?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great.
as seen on sheet 02, we are proposing to install 4 antenna sectors on the roof of the building. The proposed sectors will be installed on a non-penetrating ballast frame. Each sector will contain its own, will contain 4 antennas and 4 RRUs, and the entire installation will be camouflaged behind RF transparent panels. These panels are made out of fiber reinforced plastics and will be supported by the building, by the existing building framing. These panels will look similar to the facade of the building and will be aesthetically pleasing and will look like an integral part of the building. It is also proposed to install a new equipment platform as seen on sheet 03. This platform will be posted down to the existing building framing. The platform will house a generator, 3 equipment cabinets, electric telco boxes, and a gas booster. The entire platform will also be camouflaged by RF transparent panels.
Actually, there are 16 antennas proposed, correct?
Correct. 4 antennas per sector, and there are 4 sectors.
And I'm sorry, and the generator that is proposed, it complies with, let's talk about the safety of it.
Yes. That is what I was going to go into next. By a letter by Nishuan Group dated July 8, 2021. Item number 2 and item number 8 are about the minor site plan approval, which, since we are going on the roof of the building and we are proposing no ground disturbance at all, and we are not going to impact any surrounding properties, and they're going on an existing approved structure, this application will be a minor site plan approval, and the same reasoning will also apply for item number 8 for all the requested waivers. There was also a question about the generator, which was item number 5. The generator is usually tested once every week for about an hour. It will meet the standard daytime decibel requirements for code. The hours of adjustment, the hours of operation can be adjusted to what the board prefers or whatever is to the liking of the residents of the building. The generator is approved, is an AT&T approved product and meets the underwriter's laboratory requirements and the APA regulations and all the required codes.
And the testing actually is done during normal business hours, Monday through Friday, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, go ahead, if there's anything else.
So I think I've addressed all the comments that apply to all the engineering comments that apply according to the Nishuan Group letter. And that's about it. Oh yeah, this is a completely unmanned facility, sorry. That's about it.
Okay. I do not have any additional questions for Ekta. My next person, just so you know, the planner, Paul Rickey, he will actually have photos that will show you. I know Ekta talked about stealthing, and I'm telling you how nice it's going to look. Paul will actually have photos based upon what it will actually look like.
Question for the engineer?
Yes, Mr.
Go
Chairman.
ahead, Mr.
When was the last time the roof was inspected by an engineering firm, either yours or ours on this?
I can tell you when we went on the site, and if you give me 2 minutes.
The full roof structure and the underlayment structure, that was inspected, and we have a report on this in light of buildings collapsing.
I'm sorry, in light of buildings collapsing?
No, in light, I'm just asking this in light of, what comes to mind is the Florida issue and all of that, doesn't that?
Oh, all right. I thought you were going to tell me that the building collapsed.
No,
Or something. You made me very nervous.
no.
Just a second, it's coming up. We visited it in July of 2020. That's when we visited the building.
Okay, and copy of those reports were forwarded to our engineer for his review and that?
Yes, the structural report, which it was submitted. I'm sorry, I don't have it right in front of me. But yes, and I will confirm with the board secretary, and if not, we'll make sure you get it. Unless, actually, do you know for sure?
It is a structural letter that we prepared, and I have a copy of it, but it was a letter that we prepared, and we can definitely forward it to them.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we submitted with the application, and I'm sorry, I don't have the full file in front of me. But I will make sure we do it.
Thank you.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Mrs. Saab, this could have been for the previous engineer, but I'll ask anyway. Is there a reason why the clusters could not have been put closer to the center so the appearance could not be as, so that the structure would appear a little shorter, smaller?
That is actually for Dan Panesso. Dan, are you still on?
I am, yes, okay.
Yay! Thank you for not getting off. Dan has another hearing, so he was gonna hang up soon. Dan, why towards the end of the building and not in the center?
Right, if the antennas are brought closer to the center line of the antennas has to be raised so that we don't get any of the vertical antenna pattern clipped, so that we provide the level of coverage. So in order to minimize the height, we place them, and also for the azimuth that we need to achieve, this is the best placement that we could, and for the height, to keep the height lower.
So Dan, if you went more towards the center, the antennas would have to go up higher so you didn't put them into the building.
Correct, much higher, yes.
And I see, and just for my own edification, if the building was wider, longer, both wider and longer, you could have been shorter and further away, and that would improve your azimuth?
If the building is longer and wider,
If it worked.
but they would still be at the edge of the building as they are.
Yeah, but would the height still have been the same?
Yes, this is the minimum height required to meet our coverage objective. That's
Okay.
correct. Yes,
Understand, thank you.
yes.
Other questions, board?
Yeah, quick question, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Shaw. Is there any other equipment, product or kit like this installed in Bloomfield currently
In Bloomfield,
or surrounding
You mean
areas?
the antennas on the building?
Yeah, a similar setup or solution such as this that's installed in other buildings in Bloomfield.
Dan, I'm sure we have it. Do you have the list?
Comparison.
A list? Dan would know.
Oh, is
He's
that-
the RF guy, so he would know where all his sites are.
One moment.
I'm sure we do.
Oh, is this the last page of what was provided here?
Yes, if you look at the site list,
Site list, the W5222 Bloomfield?
correct, correct.
Okay.
Okay. You want me to go over those for you?
No, that's okay. No, I just wanted
Anywhere
to.
where you could see where it says rooftop,
Mm-hmm.
that type of installation is
Like
similar to it.
equipment? Okay. All right. No, I just want to make sure it's just similar or something new.
No, we do this all the time.
Okay.
Not anything new.
Other questions, board?
Ms. Brown has her hand raised.
Go ahead, Ms.
Hi, thank you. So just to better understand this, when you did the propagation map, was that for a 5-year look forward, a 10-year look forward? What's the scope that you're trying to accommodate with this antenna?
Yeah, these sites are built with the most current design parameters, meaning long-term evolution. And at this point, this is the current, there's no, nothing that is being done that would prevent us from, if we ever had to upgrade, this site is being designed with the current design standards. So if there were ever to be a change, there would never be any, we would have to go before the board if there was any type of design change, but this is gonna be a standard that's gonna be utilized for years to come. So I don't foresee any changes for this particular installation. And if there were ever any changes that needed to have the board approval, then another application would be submitted to the board if there were any changes that required that, and Judy could answer that too.
Yeah, and I can tell you, I've represented AT&T now for over 20 years, and stuff, but yeah, there are times when we have to come back 5 to 10 years down the road, but a lot of your changes, Jan, would be computer changes, correct? Or-
Correct, right, that's correct. It would be basically with the base station equipment, which is not a physical change to the actual site itself. The antennas are being designed to implement all of AT&T's licensed bands for the future. So for this particular installation, it's brand new, it will last for, there's no change that will be.
So you can foresee, you never
Correct,
say never, Jan.
Right, never say never, but for now, it's the current standard. Because everything is always evolving.
Okay, one more question for you. So, I think my colleague asked if this was only for AT&T, but isn't it true that you also sublease to other carriers when it's of interest to AT&T?
No, these sites are designed for AT&T's network, solely AT&T. Verizon has,
The carriers don't I mean, Sprint Nextel do, but they just merged together as one company. But Verizon, Sprint Nextel, AT&T are 3 different companies. Antitrust issues keep us from actually, moving and doing things like that, no.
Right, and then, so my final question is, so these are just antennas, there's not a repeater up there or anything like that?
no, these are just panel antennas that are going to be providing the level of coverage that I showed on my map number 2.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
If I may clarify, Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
I think what my colleagues may be asking is this going to be used for an MVNO, like a virtual network operator?
No, this
No.
is
Is just it, okay. I just want to clarify that, because I know there are other stand-up carriers, but there's also the MVNOs, so I just want to clarify that, just 100% clear. Got it. Thank you.
yes.
Other questions? No, I have a few questions for Ms. Shaw.
Sure.
Could you tell us what the fuel source is for this generator?
This is a gas generator, so it will use the existing utilities from the building itself.
So the existing gas supply to the building is adequate to
Yes.
supply the generator?
Yes.
Are any provisions made to isolate the vibration from the generator from the residents below the generator?
Yes, the generator at the bottom of the generator, they're called springs. There's springs in there which actually dampen the vibrations from the generator. So the generator, it is inbuilt within the generator.
And regarding airborne noise, has any study been made of the airborne noise levels that will result from testing the generator or operating the generator during a utility power failure, and what the noise levels might be at occupied locations through the building?
Yes, they do test these levels, like when it not like even when it's installed, they do test after it's installed. They do test what the levels are, and it is already factory tested, but it is also tested in field to make sure that the building code requirements.
Are there any provisions for fire extinguishing?
Fire extinguishing.
Yes, you have a generator with a natural gas fuel supply. Is there provisions for automatic fire extinguishing in the event that something unfortunate happens?
I think this has a automatic auto shutdown. If the generator malfunctions, then there's an auto shut off, meaning it will shut down completely by itself. There's an auto shut off button. I think that's what it's called.
But no fire extinguishing like a CO2 system or halon system or something to suppress the fire inside the generator, and you think if there's a electrical fire or natural gas fire?
I can definitely, I'm not sure of that. Doesn't say that over here.
But actually it complies with all the required regulations and standards for a generator to be placed on top of an apartment building, correct?
That is correct. That is correct. It does meet the underwriter's regulatory requirements, which is the main one, and the EPA regulations and all applicable building codes.
Any questions for it? Do our experts have any questions?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez.
No questions.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Is there any member of the public who has a question?
I need to see the share screen to come down.
Oh, Acta, please take away the.
Thank
second.
you.
Thank you, Acta.
I don't see anybody's hands up. No,
There's no other questions?
no.
All right, thank you, Ms. Shaw.
Thank you.
My last witness is Paul Ricky, who looks kind of dark because he's at another hearing and has walked out to do ours. Paul, please, you have your right hand raised. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Ricky, do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Just state your name for the record.
Paul Ricky, R-I-C-C-I.
Thank you, Mr. Ricky.
Educational professional background.
Yes, I'm a licensed professional planner. I've been licensed since the year 2000. I'm also a member of the American Institute of Certified Planners. I have a master's degree from Rutgers University in City Regional Planning. I'm also a planning consultant to 5 communities. I testify regularly in front of boards. I've been qualified upwards of 200 boards throughout the state, including Bloomfield Zoning Board of Adjustment.
Okay, so I offer Paul as my licensed professional planner.
Any discussion, board? Hearing no one, will the board will accept Mr. Ricci as an expert in planning.
Thank you.
Paul, Dan, I believe you're sharing the screen for him. Let's just show the photos then, Paul, because they look good. And I like showing when you have a good construction proposal. Dan, are you gonna put up the photos? Thank you. So we will mark this as, I believe we're at 8-4.
Correct.
Okay, we'll call it the planner's report because it's the report with the photos attached, if that's okay?
That's fine.
Okay, Paul, take over.
Okay, to qualify the exhibit, these were submitted to the board under separate cover. Photo simulations proposed AT&T wireless telecommunications facility, the property address dated November 17th, 2020. What we did is the next page, Mr. Panessa, we prepared an aerial photograph. Essentially, this is referred to as the key map. The subject property is outlined in the yellow-orange hue, and then the numbers correspond with the photo simulations that we prepared. So in this context, we have a good representation of pictures in essentially a 360-degree rotation from the subject property. And you can see in the center of the, I don't have the ability to share my cursor, is the building is in the center of the site. In this context, north is facing straight up. If we can move to the first photo simulation, which is actually taken on the property, because we're trying to give you, this is our site view of the full view of the proposed panel screening on the site, so the most visible location. Here we are 220 feet north of the site. At the top of the building, you can see on the right, we show a picture of the existing condition, and then on the left, we show the proposed condition, and you can see on the upper left portion of the building that there are 2 enclosures that are designed to match the building. At this location, it's essentially fully integrated into the design of the building. The next location, we traveled down the road. we're 1,225 feet away. And you can see at this distance that the proposed antenna on the top of the building, you can see them. You essentially have to be really looking for them at a distance like this, such as this. They're almost feel to be fully a part of the building, and they're designed to match the building. So again, they don't result in a negative visual impact. And then when I'm driving around this area, and the board knows this area well, and you have John F. Kennedy Boulevard, that kind of, it's a semi-channelized type of roadway. There's grade changes, so I'm looking for locations where this building is visible. It's not visible at every location, and I'm going to show that as part of my exhibit. This is a unique oversized property in this context, and a unique building this tall in this area of Bloomfield as well. So photograph number 3 is 480 feet northwest of the site, and here I'm focusing on a portion of the building where the enclosures are shown. Again, you can see that they're fully integrated into the building. And then as we move to different locations, photograph number 4, 445 feet west of the site. In this general location, you can see how the tree line is essentially close to the top of the building, provides some, the antennas are on the upper left portion of the building. Even when the leaves are off, it would still partially obscure the antenna on the top of the building from this location. So it feels completely natural and part of the building at this location as well. And then number 5, the apartments 450 feet to the northeast. There was no visibility at this location. And if you want me to just jump, maybe we'll jump back to the aerial in the front real quick, Mr. Panessa. So picture number 5 is excuse me, it was taken east of the site, looking in the westerly direction with the apartment complex, as well as picture number 6. Picture 7 is I'm going to show you, is taken from Baldwin Street, looking towards the building, and picture 8 is we're moving further away at the intersection of Vernon, Terrace, and Broad Street. So we're trying to give a full picture of the area. So if we move to number 5 again, not visible. Photograph number 6, 470 feet northeast in the same apartment complex. There's no visibility. Photograph number 7, 460 feet south of the site from the bridge looking towards the building. There was no visibility. And again, at location 8, 1,150 feet northwest of the site. So, portion of the analysis shows that, yes, there are areas where the building is visible. There's many areas because of the topography of the area that is not visible. But I think that the point that I would like to make is that the panel antennae are hidden behind these stealth enclosures, are fully stealth and integrated. So we're doing everything that we can to make this the least obtrusive means of introducing the technology, the wireless service to this area.
Thank you, Paul. The pictures are my favorite part. So can you please, from a planning perspective, I'm a conditional permitted use and I need a height variance for the antennas because it doesn't meet the requirements of 3 feet. Can you address that, please, and just give me a quick, because I think the board understands the application, it's a pretty good one, just a quick summary?
Sure, and as the board is aware, the focus of the proof is to show that the site has the ability to accommodate the problems from the deviation despite the non-compliance, and that we meet the negative criteria in terms of there'll be no substantial detriment to the intent and purpose of your zone plan. Here, for wireless facilities, they're passive, they don't create population, traffic, or the like. The only potential negative impact is the visibility of those antennae, which are hidden behind the stealth enclosure. So I think we've shown that in terms of a public good and negative impact to the character of the community, that would not result as part of this application. I always point out that these facilities promote the general welfare. There's numerous public benefits associated with these facilities. I think the board is aware of those. Just point out that over 80% of E911 calls occur from wireless phones. Over half the U.S. population use this one as their primary source. and they give us access to prompt, reliable information. Despite the non-compliant conditions, I want to point out that we meet 5 out of the 6 of your conditional use standards, conditional use requirements. I believe that what we're proposing is the best zoning alternative in this context. Your ordinance encourages for the antenna to be flush mounted. There's 2 issues associated with that flush mounting. On portions of the building, there are windows that would require these antennas to be located adjacent to residential windows. And also, the azimuth direction, as explained by Mr. Canesso, would require the antenna to extend away from the building facade in an unnatural manner, one that would gain additional attention to those antenna rather than making them stealth like we're doing here. That would be more visibly, they would be visible. And we could not match that to the building in a satisfactory manner. So in this context, it's my opinion, this is the least obtrusive means to provide the coverage by placing them on the building. That eliminates the need to build a new tower somewhere nearby, which again is a positive planning rationale. So I'm going very quickly here, but that's the main focus of the argument. Because there will not be a negative visual impact, and this is the least obtrusive location, it's the best outcome for the community. And the issuance of an FCC license establishes that the use meets the positive criteria because it promotes the general welfare as well. If I missed anything, please let me know.
Thanks, Paul, you did a great job.
Questions?
Yes, Mr. Valeniki here. Was it ever established how tall these screening panels are from the top of the parapet? So, or how they are? I know we mentioned the antennas, but how tall are they? I don't know if this is for Mr. Ricky or for Ms.
It would be for EXTA, Ms. Shaw, and the antenna and the screening is 7.58 feet. So it's not that the antenna is 6.58 and then the screening's on top, correct, EXTA?
Yes, the top of the antenna will match the top of the screen.
Yes.
Okay, and the screening, is this a solid material or what?
Fiberglass, isn't it, EXTA?
These are panels, but they're fiber reinforced plastic panels. They're very lightweight, and they provide RF they're RF transparent. So
My next question is about the safety of them with wind gusts up there with some the major storms that we've been having with the wind coming in behind them, especially the L shape there. There's some type of lack of a better word, guarantee or studies done that these are not going to be ripped off the building and flung around the debris.
These will be designed for applicable building codes to meet all the wind requirements that are currently in the code, and they will be attached to the building framing, and will be strong enough to support them completely.
And all this information is to be forwarded and shared with our engineer.
No, we did the structure letter, but upon approval, we can definitely provide you a full structure analysis, which shows that all the connections on all the supporting members, framing members, are structurally adequate to support this.
And that has to be submitted when we apply for the building permit. And EXTA, isn't this same exact material, the material that we use like in Milburn when we did a whole church steeple and every type of stealthing done because it's dirty enough and sound enough to be fastened to whatever it is this material that we're using. This is used nationwide by the stealthing companies, correct?
Yes, this kind of material has been used in several telecom sites all over the world, all over the nation, yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for the planner. Sir, hi. I just want to confirm that the screening panels and the antenna are situated on what would be, it looks like from the map, on what would be the northwest side of the roof line. Is that correct? Closest to Hoover and Broad?
Give me 1 second, please.
I think from the angle that I saw in some of your photographs, it looked like the panels were probably situated on the northwest side.
The panels, first of all, my aerial photograph is facing north, whereas the engineered drawings are facing in a different direction. So there's two set of array on the southern portion of the building, and then on the northern portion of the building, the northernmost portion, and just to the south of the northernmost portion. So the corners, it would be on each of the southern corners is where they're located, and on the northern portion of the building, on the northwesterly corner, and then just south of that as well is where they're located.
Okay, so I think I'm learning something new here. So the antenna are situated on both sides, on the north and the south side of the building?
Yes.
Okay, all right, I understand. All right, and then on my second line of questioning here, and I don't know if this is appropriate from the planner, let me know if you're not familiar with this, but in terms of having these situated on the rooftop, does this give AT&T automatic access to the building at will, or is there still a security protocol that would need to be followed in terms of trying to maintain it and get access to the roof?
I can answer that as the attorney with the leaking. There's protocol. It's an apartment building. We have to go by the rules and regulations set forth by the landlord.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Sure.
Other questions for us? Mr. Ricci, I have a question. You've identified the one condition that's not met, which is the height of the antenna above the parapet. Could you go over the 5 conditions that you do meet and demonstrate to the board that you're compliant?
Yes. It's mentioned in your planner's letter on page 7, under point 2B. The applicant meets its burden of make sure I have the right ones here. I was just looking at this before. The applicant has to meet its burden demonstrating a need for additional facilities in the township at the proposed location. That was discussed by Mr. Pinesso, that this is a needed facility. All antennas or related structures are painted to match the structure to which they are attached, or otherwise colored to minimize their visual impact. And I showed the photo simulations and not extend more than 3 feet. That's where we're seeking the deviation. All related structures shall be screened so they cannot be seen from the occupied floors of neighboring buildings or from street level. That was achieved through the screening that were proposed. The proposed equipment shall comply with all applicable building codes, and that's something that we have to do with your building department, nonetheless.
Any other questions? Do our experts have any questions?
No questions.
I have one question.
Go ahead.
Mr. Ritchie, if you took photos when the leaves were off, would that change any of the views for the photos of 5, 6, 7, or 8 that they were not seen, that the antenna was not seen from?
Well, I mean, there's clearly going to be more visibility in the area when leaves are off. This area, I guess with the JFK Parkway on the sides of it, there's wooded areas. So I think from the nearest apartment buildings, there may be more visibility, but there's a significant height increase between the two buildings, so someone would have to be looking into the sky rather than at the traditional eye level to see the antenna on the corners of the building in that context. And then if you were significantly far away, there's some, like I'm talking about thousands of feet, the grade changes in this area are such that if you're to the easterly direction, as you go up the hill, maybe there'll be some, from far away, there's some additional views, I would believe, as well. But because the site's oversized, and I think you require 40,000 square feet, and this is multiple times of it, and it's got a building of this size and scale, it's just such a great site for the use, and that because there's no comparable buildings of height, no one's really looking eye to eye with the antennas, so their visibility is at a substantially different elevation than the surrounding properties. If that answers your question.
Yes, it does. I have no further questions.
Thank you. Any other questions for?
Just one. Mr. Ricky, I just had a question. It came up because you mentioned paint on the antennas or just because I work in an industry where we use paint for our mechanical screening, and we have to reapply the paint every so often because it will come off. Otherwise, we have this rusted kind of rundown look from the rain. With these fiberglass panels, is there actual paint on there, or is it actually just that the color or the texture is meant to last X amount of years?
I should defer this question, but
Was Mr. Shaw?
these are panels that are, that's the color of the panel. When I use the word paint, if the antenna were going to be attached to the facade of the building, then they're typically, the actual antenna is visible, and then all the metal and the support structures are traditionally then painted to match the color of the building. And that would be, in my opinion, which I stated, something that really we showed can occur, but is also, because we talked about the angle that they would be attached. But when I use the word paint, that's what I was referring to, not the stealth enclosure panels proposed here.
Yeah, and extra, these panels are made specifically and molded and colored as they are being made for the site, so it's not like putting external paint on them, correct, Exta?
No, these are already factory installed, like factory made, and they will come as is and get installed within
Okay,
it.
so it's dyed.
Yeah, that's it.
Dyed, it's not painted. Okay, no, that's what I was looking for. I just want to confirm that. Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions for me? Any member of the public that may have a question, or anyone in the public?
I don't see anybody's hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Luigi.
Thank you.
That is the end of our application, and I asked the board, we have a gap there, and AT&T needs to provide coverage, especially in this day and age with how important telecom is to individual homes and businesses, and I asked that you approve the application.
All right,
Mr. Chair.
before we act on that request, we'll hear from the board's engineer and the board's planner, and then we'll find out if there's any member of the public who wishes to be heard. And then you'll have the opportunity to summarize if you wish.
To say it again, okay.
All right, Mr. Ritchie, please be sworn in.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Just state your name for the record.
Anthony Marucci.
Thank you, Anthony.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my report is dated June 1st, 2021, and I just want to emphasize one sentence in my report, is that the ordinance states that the first preference for locating or co-locating antennas and related structures is on existing buildings in zones where the use is conditionally permitted. The reason for that is so that we don't get a lot of freestanding towers in town, and this is an appropriate location for the wireless communication. With respect to the questions on the structural analysis and the wind loading, upon approval by the board, they have to submit construction drawings, and that's when we'll look at the structural analysis for the roof and also for the wind loading. And other than that, I'm satisfied with the testimony that I've heard. I have no engineering issues because, again, everything is on the roof and it doesn't affect anything on the ground as far as engineering goes.
All right, questions for Mr. Marucci? Murphy, I just have two questions. Are there any requirements for fire suppression, for a fire suppression system to be fitted to this generator section on the roof?
I don't believe so, but I'll verify that when the application comes before construction.
All right. And the other question I have, Mr. Murphy, is we heard the applicant's engineers say that airborne testing would be conducted after installation and when the system is put into service. Do you foresee the need for any airborne noise calculations prior to installation to establish that the noise levels are acceptable in, say, either the residence apartments or an adjacent buildings like the apartments we saw photographs of or other locations?
In my opinion, I believe that the Kinder Towers is far enough away from the other structures where it won't affect the other structures. The fact that it's on the roof, and I believe the applicant's engineer stated that the generator has springs underneath it, will suffice as far as any vibration or noise, in my opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. Other questions for us?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question to Mr. Marucci. Good evening, Mr. Marucci. Do you know offhand from perhaps your previous experience with installation, do the materials, are they large enough that they would have to be installed via a crane lifting them up to the top of the building, or do the materials come up through the building?
I can tell you the generator itself has to be lifted up with a crane. You can't go into the building with the generator. It's too large to bring it in through the building. So I'm sure there's going to be a crane involved.
Okay, I was just trying to gauge the disruption to the residents, and that seems to be the preferable method.
Any other questions for Mr. Marucci? Does any member of the public have a question?
I don't see anybody's hands. No.
Thank you, Mr. Marucci.
Thank you.
And last but not least, I'd like to hear from our board's planner, Mr. Martini of Initial. Please give us the benefit of your analysis. Swear him in.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Just state your name for the record.
Stephen Martini, Martini.
Thank you.
So our report is dated July 8th of this year, and given that everything that all the applicants, professionals said, and Mr. Marucci, I believe that this is an appropriate site and location for the proposed action. As Mr. Ritchie mentioned, 5 of the 6 conditions are met, with the only one being the height of the proposed antenna. I believe that Mr. Ritchie did provide the burden of proof for the positive and negative criteria for the proofs for the application. And it is mentioned in the 2002 master plan about wireless communication facilities, and that it was a pretty significant issue at the time, and that it's something that should be looked into in the future. And I think that Bloomfield has done that. And I think that pretty much covers everything else has pretty much been said. So I think it's a good, like I said, I think it's a good and appropriate location, given the vegetation that surrounds the apartment building as well. I think it's appropriate where the antenna is being placed, and that the views to surrounding residences and other uses is minimal.
Thank you, Mr. Martini. Board question for Mr. Martini, please. Does any member of the public have a question? No, no one?
Nope.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Martini.
Thank you.
Ms. Fairweather, you have the opportunity to summarize if you wish to do so.
Yes. AT&T is a licensed carrier. They have proven that they have a gap in this area. We comply with the conditional use ordinance on where to place them, except for the height, which cannot be helped in order for us to get the coverage needed to supply. So the height kind of goes hand in hand with the use. Therefore, I ask that you please grant this application.
Thank you. Time for public hearing is closed. Board time for discussion has been closed. Anyone else that needs to discuss? Mr. Balnick.
You're on mute, Mr. Balnicki.
Here we go. I I approve this application, and I really think that abiding by our planning laws and a preference of locating on an existing building and not building a separate tower, as was mentioned before, is optimum here, and also with the shield screening the antenna and the type of material they're made from, and that I am in favor of this application.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
I would concur with Mr. Belnicki, given the location of the building and the screening, natural screening, and the distance that it is away from most residents. I would agree that it is a good location, as the applicant's professionals have mentioned, Mr. Belnicki as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to concur with my colleagues. This is obviously much preferred to having a separate tower installed. And the buffering seems to be more than adequate between both the natural buffering provided by the trees surrounding Kinder Tower, as well as by the screening panels provided that naturally blend in with the building.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing no one else, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the application.
Okay, Mr. Wagner moves it. Is there a second?
I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
For a second. Is there I'm sorry, hold board, please.
Okay, Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Prince?
Yes.
Mr. Belnicki?
Yes.
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Chairman Machowski?
Yes, application is approved.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank
I have
you.
a question. The timeframe for the application kind of went long, and it was because of COVID and everything else. Is it possible that prior to the resolution being adopted, we could go ahead and submit our application for building permit to start that process prior, knowing that we're doing it at our own risk, prior to the resolution being adopted?
It doesn't work.
If I may, I don't see any reason why I won't have a resolution ready for the 7th. So, to me, that 2-week period is of no consequence in terms of you submitting your permits before then, because I doubt that they'll be processed in that time period.
Okay, great.
Mr. Marucci is the one to speak to that. I'm speaking solely to when I think the resolution will be ready for the meeting. Was that 2 weeks from now? 3 weeks from now?
Mr. Marucci, can we just at least submit the application before 2 weeks?
You can submit it, it's gonna take time to go through all the reviews, so, you probably won't get your permits till after the 7th anyway, but I'd say submit it, I'll talk to construction tomorrow.
Oh, thank you. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. You were great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
All right. Moving right along, old business item 4B. Item 4B.
Mr. Chairman, before you continue, I believe that was the last application that required planning review, so if you wouldn't mind, I would step away at this time.
Certainly. Have a good
Thank you. You too. Thank you, board.
So we have item 4B, under old business, is the application of John and Michelle Davila as applicants and owners for bulk variances and any such other relief that may be required pursuant to order of the Township of Bloomfield to construct a second-story addition, front porch, and mudroom, a residential one-family R1A zone on the premises known as map 47, block 1321, lot 39, better known as 44 Jacob Street.
Okay.
The applicant here, or is there a counsel for that?
Again.
I am here, and my architect is also.
Yes, I'm here.
So you'll be representing yourself then, Mr. Davila?
I will.
All right, swear him in, please.
Okay, raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
State your name for the record.
My name is John Babula, B-A-B-U-L-A.
Thank you, sir.
All right, sir, if you go ahead and you can present your testimony, let us know what variances are being requested and what the reasons for those variances are.
Thank you very much. Thank you for hearing us today. Thank you for meeting with us. As you mentioned, we would like to construct a second floor addition on our house. This would include also a one-story front porch, as well as a one-story rear mudroom. This proposed work requires a front yard variance because there's a 25-foot setback that is going to be encroached upon by the porch. It would only be 19 feet with our proposed porch. We also would need a lot coverage variance. The allowed percentage is 45%. We would be, our construction would put us at 46%. So those are the two variances that we will be seeking today. The reason for doing all this, we have two children who, one is 10, one is 7, who share a bedroom, and we are going to, one boy, one girl, they definitely need their own space, and so, we want to add this second floor addition to make the one existing bedroom into 2 bedrooms. In addition to that, we live in a great neighborhood that has a lot of children, and our children play with the children in the neighborhood. Very nice neighborhood. We are lucky enough to have neighbors to the right and to the left that both have children that are of similar age to my children, and thus they play. The topography of our backyards is slanted away from the house, such that anytime we get any rain, and we've been getting a lot of rain, our backyard's flood. So much so that almost half the backyard is flooded, and then the rest is like a swamp. So this happens to all of our neighbors. And what happens oftentimes is that our children end up playing in the front yard. And so we've obviously got to be out there, keep an eye on them because of the street, the cars and such, traffic. And we end up just standing there, watching them. And so we would like to have a porch because what it would do would give us a space where we could actually sit and watch the children. It would give us a space where we could be neighborly and sit with our neighbors. Oftentimes we just stand in our driveways watching our children. And it would just complement the neighborhood. And so we're seeking that variance, hoping that you'll approve that for us today. The mudroom at the back is a necessity for us because we are a sports family. I am a soccer coach here in Bloomfield. My children both play soccer within Bloomfield, and oftentimes we are coming home very dirty. When we play on turf, we're coming home with little pieces of rubber, and they come into our house with us all the time. And so having a little mudroom on the back would allow us to have a place to take all that stuff off, to change, and not bring all that stuff into our house. And we would only be going over the allowed percentage by 1%. So we're hoping that you will see that too could be approved. Thank you.
Are you going to present testimony from your architect?
If you need it, yes. She is here.
The architect should show us the plans and the general layout, where the setback is being violated and so forth. So we could start out and you could ask for some questions.
Okay.
Sure, I'm here.
Ms. Lowry, can you raise your right hand? Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
State your name for the record.
Sure. Courtney Lowry, Lowry.
Thank you.
Sure. Do you have to hear about school qualifying?
So this here is schooling and degree and professional life.
Sure. I have a bachelor's in architecture from NJIT. I also have a master's in infrastructure planning from NJIT. And I am licensed in New Jersey and Florida since 2014. And I've been before many boards in New Jersey.
Are there any questions? No questions? Board will accept Ms. Lowry as an expert in architecture.
Thank you. I will share my screen. Okay.
So even if these are plans that we handed in, let's just mark this set as A1. And if there's any changes, let me know, because then I would need another copy of anything that was changed from what was handed in.
Sure. I don't believe we have any changes whatsoever. These are the original.
Thank you.
Okay.
Date on them, just so we know.
Excuse me?
What's the date?
Last revision date.
Sure. That is February 12th, 2021.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So these plans, as you can see, I have a copy of the site plan over here. And I wish I could merge this. It's not. Okay, we'll work with it. The plan here, we have the site plan in the corner. So the site plan shows we're proposing a new one-story porch across the front of the house. That would reduce the front yard setback to 19 feet. The porch would then, this is the porch which is requiring variance. The small mudroom addition in the back is right here, and then we have a little entry porch off the back, and that's mainly due to grade from the backyard. As they park back here, we come up into the mudroom, into the house, and we have the porch. So reflected in the plans, you could see the first floor currently has a little open porch, living room, kitchen. They have a bathroom. This is technically the third bedroom. However, they use it as a playroom for the kids. And the front room is the home office. There's no closet. On their current second floor, there's one large bedroom and one small bedroom, which both kids currently share. Also another full bath. So it's currently 2 baths, 3 bedrooms. And we are proposing no work to the current basement. So the first floor, which you can see here, would have a covered front porch, approximately, well, not approximately, it would be 6 foot deep. This is due to the columns, which having the structural columns which hold up the porch would leave about 5 feet worth of clearance, which is a comfortable area, leaves a comfortable distance so that you could sit out front. They're not making any changes to the existing first floor where they have a living room, home office. Again, this is the guest room, but the kids' playroom. And then a kitchen dining area, and again, a small mudroom off the rear where they would have a closet, a drop zone for all that sports stuff, and the little porch that comes up the back. As far as the second floor, now this isn't a full second floor addition, it's a partial, mainly right side addition. We do have a 2 foot front cantilever, which is also being incorporated above the front porch into the roof. There was a note in Mr. Marucci's engineering letter that this cantilever would require a variance if we did not get the porch variance, because we are still encroaching 24 inches. However, this space is needed to get good-sized bedrooms for the kids. Again, they are currently both sharing, and we have a front bedroom that would be about 12 and a half feet by 11, and a back bedroom that would be roughly 9'9" by 13'8". The bedrooms are similar in square footage. They each have a closet, and then the only change to the current master bedroom would be just adding an additional dormer on the front for curb appeal. So as we go to the following page, so you can see based on the elevations, again, not a full second floor addition. This would have a nice front porch across the existing house, a dormer here, which adds a little sitting area in the master bedroom, and then this space would be the full second floor addition, front to back, with both a 24-inch overhang in the front and one in the back, which gives a nice area for the two kids' bedrooms. So the house would ultimately be 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. And then here, as you can see, this is the overhanging rear bedroom, and then this little mudroom, which has the porch set in a little bit. The reason for that jog is that it makes it easier to back out. They do park 2 cars in the garage. So by jogging in this little porch, it gives them a little extra area to turn around, where if it came out, there would be a high chance that it would be in the way of the car. There'd be a lot of maneuvering. So the porch is as modest as it can be to still give them accessibility, yet a large enough mudroom that gives them the space they need for storage. And then you can see this is the driveway side elevation. So we would have the mudroom area in the back. This would be the front porch area. And then on the opposite side, this is facing the other neighbor where the kids' rooms would overhang 2 feet. This would be space for the kids, and then a porch in the front and the mudroom in the back. So those are all the drawings I have to present that were given over to the board, and pretty much reiterating what Mr. Babula said. We are, again, going for the porch variance for the front yard setback, the mudroom, and the partial second floor addition, but what the primary variances are front yard setback, and then lot coverage, where 45% is permitted and we're at 46.2%. So it is a 1.2% overage. So that's it.
What is that noise?
Thank you.
Board, questions for the architect, please?
Mr. Belnick,
Go ahead.
Mr. Belnick here. On the front yard setback, in Mr. Marucci's report, he says the front covered porch decreases the front yard setback to 19 feet. But then there's a 2 foot on the overhang, and that includes that. So am I correct in saying the actual setback to the porch, to the street, is not 19 feet, it would be 21 feet, the porch on the ground? Because that 2 feet is the cantilever extending out.
So there is a partial cantilever not shown on this site plan.
Right.
So that would be, if you consider this partial cantilever, the setback to the cantilever would be 23 feet.
Oh, okay, okay. So the 19 feet is
to the porch.
To the porch, okay.
Correct.
Correct, I stand corrected. Thank you.
No problem.
Other questions for?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if I
Go
may.
ahead, Mr.
Mrs. Lowry, I like your drawings, I like your architecture, but I just kind of wondering why on the right elevation there are no windows proposed. I mean, it kind of you just have this large blank wall. But would there be a reason why you propose no window to kind of break that up?
So the main reason for no windows on this side of the house is that we do have a large double egress window in both the front and rear here. So it lends itself to having more space for furniture for the rooms. We would be able to put a window on the side, however, it would look directly into the neighbor's house. So for that reason, we just architecturally didn't add windows to the side.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is that the side with the 4-foot setback?
I believe so. No, that's this side. Yes, so we have plenty of space on that side. We could put a window there, but it looks right at the neighbor.
Other questions for?
I have a question. With respect to this point of not having a window on that side because it would look at the neighbors, of the entire housing stock in Bloomfield, don't most of the homes have windows that are adjacent to their other properties around them? The neighbors?
Yes.
So this wouldn't be out of character to have windows there. Would you disagree or would you agree? Do you have an opinion on that?
I think it's preference. I would say 50% of projects I do, people choose to not have side windows that look into the neighbor. I mean, they currently, if I zoom in here, they do have, sorry about that. Here we go. In the master, they do have a window that looks directly at that neighbor. So it's absolutely, I would defer to the homeowner, but I believe if it was something the board felt strongly about, putting a window either in one bedroom or in both on that side, I don't believe there would be an issue with popping in a window.
I guess my point is that we're not looking at it from the preference of the homeowner, but for the perpetuity of housing stock. And, you know, this is a house that's constructed, it's gonna last for decades, and most people do have windows that are in their bedrooms that are bringing in natural light and that make it appealing. I understand not wanting to have something that's close to the neighbors. We all want privacy, but they do make window treatments for that purpose. It's just, to me, I just was adding on what my colleague said because it did seem something to note that there was nothing at all on that side, and obviously this section of town, but throughout Bloomfield, throughout the United States, people have neighbors and they have windows, and okay, so thank you, appreciate that.
The question for?
Yeah, I have a question, Chairman. Ms. Lowry, it looks like on the second floor, with the proposed, it looks like the new proposal changes the roof line somewhat. I may be wrong, but it looks like the roof line is being raised somewhat in addition to, it being extended forward and backward. It looks like the roof line is being raised. Is that correct? And if it is it still within, does that require a variance or is it still within compliance?
So the roof line, the current roof line of the house is the straight roof line in the back.
Right.
We are within the height requirements of the ordinance at 26.2 feet. So yes, this addition of the 2 children's bedrooms does have a higher roof line. The reasoning for that is to architecturally to break it up so that the house is a little taller at that point, and also so that there is a little bit of attic space for both storage and a split system HVAC unit.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Lowry, I commend you on a nice design that actually is quite fitting for the neighborhood. I did have a question in terms of the front porch. is there, I see that the way the column structure is done, and there are other designs that have porticos. Is the homeowner open to the fact of keeping some part of the front of the house with the setback that currently exists?
That I would defer to Mr. Babula. John, are you still on the call?
And
Okay.
we are open to it, certainly. We have discussed, possibly, with whatever the board says, with the board thinks, right? We would obviously prefer to have the full. We think it really looks great, and would allow, for more space, for us. But, if the board felt that, a compromise could, or if we could compromise, we would certainly do like a half porch or something like that. If that was more appealing to the board, certainly.
Okay, I was just wondering.
We just wanted to have that space, up front, so that we can sit and watch our children play and just be comfortable instead of just having to, everyone always be standing in front and kind of, a little awkward sometimes.
I understand. I just want to see if it was considered at some point just to retain some setback that exists today to retain that. But thank you.
Yes, the porch to the right does, the nice thing about having the porch on the right side is it does cover that cantilever, which I think lends to blending the addition more with the house. The porch on the right side, it's nice to have, and it does also kind of mask another dormer tying both sides of the house together. But it could be completely independent if you were to take off one side. We could get the dormer to integrate just as well in the house if a half porch was approved as well. And I also have driven around the neighborhood and spoken with Mr. Babula, and there are a couple other porches in the neighborhood, so it wouldn't stick out like a sore thumb either.
And those porches, I'm sorry, are actually full porches as well.
It seems that if we grant the setback variance, the difference between partial porch and a full porch wouldn't make that much difference in the setback standpoint, but half a porch would greatly limit the utility for the owners, in my opinion. So I don't see a lot of purpose in agreed. I think it's maybe a setback. Other questions? Questions? Do our experts have any?
Can I just ask the architect to take down the share screen?
Yeah.
There you go.
I have no questions, Mr. Chair.
Is there any member of the public who has a question to this witness?
I don't see anybody's hands up.
All right,
Actually, I have one more question, Mr.
Go
Chairman.
ahead. Go ahead.
When the expert is talking about the other porches in the neighborhood, are they exceeding the setback? Or are these just porches that are on houses that are aligned with the proper setback?
That I couldn't testify to that because I hadn't seen a site plan, or I saw them in passing, but I didn't look at them particularly for the dimensional setback.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? Since there are no other questions, and the architects get along with the witness, the next step would be we are on the board's engineer, Mr. Marucci. Following that, I'll find out if the public has anything So with that, Mr. Marucci, raise your right hand, please.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Just state your name for the record.
Anthony Marucci.
Thank you, Anthony.
Mr. Chair and members of the board, this application is strictly for C variances. The lot coverage is minimal, as I stated in my report. They're exceeding just 1.2%, so I don't see any significant issues with engineering, with drainage or anything of that nature. Obviously, there's a front yard setback variance, and the applicant has provided his rationale for the need for the front porch for his family. My only comment about the front porch would be, I would rather see the entire front porch if you're going to allow it. I think it would look better symmetrically and aesthetically than to just have a half of the porch. That's just my opinion, and that's all I have for my part of the testimony.
Marucci, are there any questions for Mr. Marucci? Does any member of the public have a question for Mr. Marucci?
No.
Hearing and seeing no one, thank you, Mr. Marucci.
Well,
This time, I'll ask, is there any member of the public wishing to be sworn in for like testimony?
No.
Hearing and seeing no one, and Mr. Balbuli, you have the opportunity to summarize the commission, please.
Once again, thank you so much for hearing us today. As mentioned earlier, we would like to extend the second floor and add that addition there. The one-story front porch would give us the opportunity to watch our children play and be out in a comfortable environment. And the mudroom on the back would certainly help our very sports-oriented lifestyle. Everything we're proposing, we're not trying to exceed or really go beyond means. We just want to add these things so that, you know, our home becomes better for our family. We've lived in Bloomfield for 15 years now. We don't plan on moving. We've established roots. Our children go to the public school system. Our children play Bloomfield Soccer Club. I am a coach with Bloomfield Soccer Club. We love this town. We love our neighborhood, and we just like to add a little more to it so that the future is better for our children and for our family. And we're hoping that you'll approve us today with all those things in mind. So thank you for hearing us today.
All right, thank you, sir. Time for public hearing is closed. Time for board discussion has to be done. Would like to lead off.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Balnicki, go ahead.
Yeah, I like this application a lot. I think it adds a lot of character to the neighborhood. I like the idea, I agree with Mr. Chairman and Mr. Marucci, the idea of the front porch going fully across the way it's designed, and the mudroom and the little cutoff area for allowing a little more area for a swing around the driveway, well thought out. And as far as the windows on the side of the house, I would leave that up to the owner as their preference.
Thank you, Mr. Balnicki. Any discussion, board?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. White.
I'll echo Mr. Balnicki's opinion for this application. I agree. It's and the same thing with the windows. We recently did a renovation, and you know, we decided to put them in mainly for light. So maybe they'll decide to do that, maybe they won't. That's really their call. But yeah, no, I like this application. I was just asking about that, the front porch, just curiosity to see for the application. I agree.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, so I would concur that this is a well thought out application. I like the fact that they are improving the property by elevating the space on the second floor, and I think that adds value to the property. I think the mudroom makes sense, and it's a small addition. I don't think that they are greatly over the variances. I do think that whenever you look at property, the things that make a neighborhood pop are when things are of the same scale and setback. And I think you can anticipate that the scale of these other houses that might be, smaller might also expand, but the setback is something that changes a streetscape. So I pay a lot of attention to that, and I do think it's something to be aware of, although I will say this is a really valuable, there's value to the improvement in that they can sit and watch the kids play, but also I love a front porch. So I think looking at the pros and cons, I would be in favor of that, and I don't think that it's necessary to create a hybrid porch. I think it's just as appealing if you're going to go for the setback. I think having the full porch is very welcoming. I do take issue with the windows, and I also would like to say I don't think that this is entirely the homeowner's decision. We're being asked to give a variance here, and there is some concern on my part that it's a permanent structure that's being built that doesn't have as much light as it could have. Ours is not a design decision, I understand that. I just bring it out as something that I would maybe encourage the homeowner to give thought to. Even a small window would bring light, and that's very appealing in terms of improving the property value. Of course, you don't have to stare at your neighbors. That's what window treatments are for, as I said earlier. So it would be my recommendation to the homeowner that they consider that with their architect. Other than that, I think the small percentage that's necessary to give them the waiver for it seems reasonable, and it seems like it's a meaningful improvement to the property and to the neighborhood. Thank you.
Anyone else? No one else?
Mr. Chairman, are you asking for a motion?
Yes.
I am asking for a motion.
All right, I will make a motion that, can we make I'd be inclined to make a motion for approval, but I would like the homeowner to consider the window issue. So how would you propose that?
Well, that would not be part of the
Right.
proposed motion. You've given that opinion, and the homeowner.
Okay, so it's on the record,
They
so,
could put windows if they want to. They could even put, if they don't want to look at the neighbors, they could put the cellar story windows. I believe they're called, which are elevated so you don't have a view out the window, but they would say bring light in over the beds.
right,
They could consider that if they want to. And the other thing we have to consider is that when you impose a condition, it's usually to mitigate the adverse impact of the variance. So it's hard to understand how imposing windows would mitigate the front yard setback. So I think we have to
Agreed.
let the windows go. That's what the advice out here. And the other factor that I see is that they're proposing an open front porch as opposed to a closed front porch. The visual impact of the setback variance is less because it's open. And I think, in my opinion, that's a factor in mitigating the variance.
well, I agree with that, but having the open front porch, and if we approve this as an open front porch, does that prohibit them from enclosing it at some future point? They'd have to come back in front of the board, or would they be allowed to enclose it?
I believe they have to come back to the last Mr. Rubin.
Okay, let's ask.
You're on mute, Mike.
I'll defer to Mr. Marucci on that. I mean, I don't know whether that would result in FAR variances or anything else might apply. They'd have to come in for a zoning permit at a minimum.
if they enclose the porch, it would increase the building coverage, so that would be a variance. So they would have to come back.
Well, this already has a roof on it, so it's already considered part of the building.
But they'd be making living space out of it. What I'm saying is it would increase the building coverage and maybe even FAR at that point.
Right. They have to apply for a permit.
They have to apply for a zoning permit in any event. Depending on whether they exceed the limits or not, determine whether they need a variance.
Does that not change the use of the structure if they did that?
But it's an accessory portion of the building, single-family dwelling. It doesn't matter how it's used. I mean, the front yard setback is required because it exceeds the permitted size of the front porch that's allowed to extend 6 feet into the front yard setback. So you're granting the variance to the front yard setback for the porch whether it's enclosed or not.
Well, that is something that gives me pause, because I don't think that an enclosed front porch would be at all appealing, while I do think that the open front porch adds value, so.
They'll make a condition that the front porch be open.
Okay, so my proposal would be to approve this application on the condition that the owners, that they stipulate that the front porch be open. And I guess there's no other further conditions. That's a recommendation to think about window design as their architect might recommend to them.
Noted, we have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Wagner, second, hold the board, please.
Okay. Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Prince?
Yes.
Mr. Valnicki?
Yes.
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Chairman Machowski?
Yes, application is approved.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone, and Mrs. Brown, you needn't worry. I agree with you. I think it looks way better open, and we have no plans on ever enclosing the front porch. I don't think it would even look that nice, to be honest. So, you needn't worry about that. But could I ask one question before we go? Obviously, due to COVID and the fact that we've missed 2 zoning board meetings, well, not missed, but we hadn't been heard for 2 zoning board meetings, similar to what Mrs. Fairweather had asked earlier. Would it be possible for us to submit the construction permits early so that it could be viewed and reviewed prior to the resolution, so that we could possibly get started as soon as possible with construction?
Mr. Marucci.
Well, again, even if they submitted the plans tomorrow, do you have your, Ms. Lauer, do you have your construction plans ready? I mean, these are just for the board right now.
They just have to be sealed and mailed out. We've been waiting a couple months, so the plans were completed.
Again, you can submit them, and I will talk to the construction official to start the process. So hopefully Mr. Rubin can have the resolution for October 7th, and you can get started. So
Okay.
get the plans in, and I'll talk to the construction on this.
Great, we appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Then we'll need a break.
I was gonna ask. Quick bio break.
Okay, take a 10-minute break, we'll be back at 10 minutes after 9, please. We are in recess. All right, the zoning board is back in session. We are moving down the agenda to old business item 4C. The application of Louis Garcia as applicant and owner of bulk variances and except other relief may be required for zoning ordinance and township schools to end the driveway and a residential one-family R1A zone premises known as map 41, block 11, 50, known as 679 North Fayette Avenue. Cantina, Mr. Garcia.
Yes, I'm here, Mr. Chairman.
Are you representing yourself?
Yes, sir.
All right, raise your right hand, be sworn in, please.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Just state your name for the record.
Mr. Garcia.
Thank you.
Mr. Garcia, you can tell us what you propose to do, what variance is needed, and why the variances are justified.
I am seeking a 12 variance to widen the driveway in front of the house. It's proposing to widen 6 feet from south. And then
No problem.
Alright. This is just a typical one of my those things. Right the driveway 6 feet further right from the garage, which is providing for barriers. Nicole, this is a snapshot of the plan that was submitted by Jose Pinero, architect planner, dated March 29, 2021.
Okay.
So why don't you mark that plan
A1.
as A1, okay?
You got it.
Unfortunately, he was not available to attend the meeting.
Mr. Garcia, your audio is kind of going in and out, so I want to make sure you're not covering your speakers or something.
How about now? I just turned off the air conditioner.
Okay, I guess that's a little better.
Okay. So, I just said is that, unfortunately, Mr. Gennaro was not available this evening to give us, what will be technical aspects of it, so I guess, all alone here.
Okay.
So I was having a little trouble hearing you because of the audio difficulty. So the proposal is to expand the driveway as we look from the front of the house, 6 feet to the right, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Am I still having audio issues?
No.
It's better now, much better.
It's better.
I think it was the air conditioner.
And that's the only change proposed, is that right?
That is correct.
So, Mr. Garcia, you are not expanding the driveway apron or the curb cut to a lawn?
The next door neighbor went through this, and I'm on a county road, so if I were to expand the apron, then I have to get bonded with the county, I have to apply a permit with the county to hold from homologate with that. And it's not a necessity for me, it's just 2 cars in the driveway, my car, my wife's car. The problem is, I'm on East Passaic Ave, a block away, or a couple blocks away from West Passaic Ave corner. A lot of traffic in the morning. It's easy to get out, and I'm walking there. I'm just gonna pull out the vehicle, bring the vehicle back in, and with the traffic that's there and pedestrian traffic in the morning, it's kind of dangerous.
Okay. All right, no, I understand. I just wanted to be clear that it's literally just the driveway that extends from the sidewalk along the side of the yard that is being widened, correct?
That is correct, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So, Mr. Garcia, if I look at the plans, and I'm trying to understand this, that actually it looks like the driveway already is extended that width, the additional 6 feet, but 6 feet is gravel and an amount that I can't, roughly 12 plus feet is paved, is that right? So you're proposing to pave the part that's gravel, is that right?
That is correct, yes.
The only is the variance that's being requested, is that the driveway that's wider than a garage, is that
That is right, yes.
And you need to find waiver for the proximity of the driveway to the lot line.
The line, yeah.
It would be 5 feet, and it's, according to Mr. Marucci's memo, it's 1 feet, 1 foot. I also think we should discuss that if you look at the survey, they have the curve is shown as straight, and if you look at the plan, it shows that it tapers in as it reaches the sidewalk, and I think Mr. Marucci needs to be consulted on that change. You'll see a dotted line on the Gennaro plan versus it says existing section of Felton block curb removed and relocated. So then it reaches the sidewalk, it tapers in, be narrower than it will be as it moves further or closer to the house. And just the whole design of that, I think Mr. Marucci should be asked to comment.
We will.
My understanding is it was papered in when Mr. Gennaro talked to Mr. Marucci. It's a recommendation to do that. So when I drive out of the driveway, I'm not going over the grass or the curb. And that's why it's papered in that way. So I would have to drive around it to be able to go out to the paper that existed.
All right, so we'll ask Mr. Marucci when he's testifying to let us know if the status is questions for the applicant here? Questions for the applicant? Does any member of the public have a question for the applicant?
I don't see any hands.
Mr. Garcia, what we'll do is we'll hear from Mr. Marucci, and then we'll find out if there's any member of the public who wants to testify. And following that, you have the opportunity to summarize before the board makes a decision. So with that, Mr. Marucci, please raise your right hand.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Just state your name for the record.
Anthony Marucci.
Thank you, Anthony.
As the applicant stated, I did speak to his architect. As you can see on the plan, the curbing is already constructed, and the curbing is constructed straight out towards the sidewalk, where I guess at some point, the applicant was looking to widen the actual curb cut. And it was my suggestion to his architect to curve that back in and not widen the curb cut. It would require a county permit, and I don't think it's necessary. The other situation here is that he is on a corner. He's on East Passaic Avenue, which is a county road, which gets a considerable amount of traffic, and it is a corner. It's actually a four-way intersection. You have Darling Avenue, but then you also have a Leo Terrace on the other side. So, and the county doesn't allow any parking on East Passaic Avenue, so I can understand the applicant's concern with having the 2 parking spaces side by side. I'm actually pleased that the widening is to the right side of the garage and not in front of the house, like we've had situations like that came before the board in the past. But yes, it is my recommendation that the curbing gets curved in and the curb cut not be widened. It's up to the board if you want to grant the variance.
So you're satisfied then with the plans that as submitted, is that right?
I am, yes.
All right, thank you. Questions for Mr. Marucci, board? Does any member of the public have a question for Mr. Marucci?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Mr. Wagner.
Just to bring up the point that was brought up earlier, Mr. Marucci, about not regarding the curb cut, but the cut of the actual driveway coming in, lining up. Is that to do with the pounds per square foot and the fact that the car should go over the apron versus if the Belgian blocks stayed the way they were, they could end up going over the sidewalk portion plus the grass?
You're absolutely correct, yes.
Okay, all right.
Anyone else?
And Mr. Valnicki here. And Mr. Marucci, you also stated that with this expansion of the driveway, you could get to the cars side by side, which would be a better safety situation.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Anyone else? All right, thank you, Mr. Marucci. Is there any member of the public who wishes to be sworn in by regarding this application?
No.
Hearing and seeing no one. All right, Mr. Garcia, you have the opportunity to summarize if you wish to do so.
The only thing I need to clear ahead is I appreciate the opportunity I have here to be able to present this to the board. And the safety issue, I want to be sure that we don't have an accident or any unfortunate scenarios in front of my house. I've already seen a motorcyclist get run over 2 weeks ago right in front of my house. The car hit on a pole in the middle of the night, probably was drunk, whatever. It's just all sorts of stuff going on, they had, people racing. I'm just trying to make it a little safer for us.
Thank you.
Time for public hearing is closed. Time for board discussion has been closed. Board, would you like to go first?
Start us off, Mr. Chairman, if you'd like.
Go ahead.
I think the application as presented is fine by me. I think it's for the reasons stated and also I think in practicality, it makes sense. It's unfortunate that the permitting process of the county is difficult because I'm sure the applicant would prefer the apron to be longer, and I do echo Mr. Murchie's appreciation that it's going the other way. I agree. I've remember those applications as far as I consider the previous.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to agree with my colleague there. I think that the fact that he is extending the driveway to the right as opposed to into the front yard is definitely a benefit. There's already a gravel bed there, so in my opinion, the additional 6 feet of widened driveway represents a rather minimal adjustment.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing no one else, will entertain a motion, board.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
That's to approve, I told you.
To approve, yes. Yes.
Mr. Valnicki moved it, Mr. Wagner second.
I'll second.
Okay. Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Prince?
Yes.
Mr. Valnicki?
Yes.
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Chairman Machowski?
Yes, the application is approved.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Garcia.
Thank you. Have a
Very
good
much.
night.
Have a good night.
along. Old business item 4D. Old business item 4D is the application of George Oak, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing your name, as applicant and owner of 12 Barron Street, and it's other relief, as may be required from the zoning ordinance of the Township of Bloomfield to replace an existing one-car garage with a detached two-car garage in residential two-family R2B zone premises known as map 21, block 452, lot 21, building on the 75 East Elmira. Is the applicant here, or is there a counsel for that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Mark Mariansky on behalf of the applicant. I don't know if you can see me. I turned the video off during the break and I put it back on and I see myself frozen but not moving.
We don't see you at all, Mr. Mayor.
I don't see it, yeah, I don't see,
You would have to join
Let us not that we could be disturbed.
Okay, but you can hear me, that's all that matters.
yes.
All right, this is a variance application for the detached two-car garage to replace the old one-car garage on property at 75 East Elmira Street. The variances that are required in connection with the proposed two-car garage are front, rear, and side yard setbacks and the total building coverage for the lot. I have the applicant's architect here to testify, Jennifer Palmero, who I'd like to call. Hopefully she's here.
She is. Okay, Ms. Palermo, do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
You?
Just state your name for the record.
Jennifer Palermo?
Thank you.
Ms. Palermo, can you give the board your qualifications, please, as an architect?
Sure. I graduated from NJIT with a master's degree in architecture in 2000. I've been licensed in the state of New Jersey since 2002, and I am also licensed in New York, Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Florida.
Testified before this board before?
I have actually, not that long ago.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman, I offer Ms. Palermo as an expert in architect.
Board, any discussion? Hearing no one, the board will accept Ms. Palermo as an expert in architecture.
Thank you. Ms. Palermo, you were retained by the applicant to prepare the plans for the new detached two-car garage, which were submitted with this application.
That's correct.
And in connection with your work on the project, did you familiarize yourself with the property and the immediate surrounding area?
Yes.
And you're also familiar with the Bloomfield zoning ordinance as it relates to this property?
Yes.
First off, this is an undersized lot, correct?
That is correct. 4,000 is required, we have 3,000.
And this is the R2B two-family zone, correct?
Yes.
And the proposal is to construct a new detached two-car garage at the rear of the property to replace an old one-car garage which was in disrepair, is that correct?
That is correct.
And the old garage has been removed at this time, but its footprint and the location of it is shown on the plan with the footprint of the proposed new garage superimposed over it, is that correct?
That is correct.
And what was the approximate size of the old garage?
The old garage was just under 200 square feet.
Okay, it looks like about 19 by approximately 10, maybe 190 plus or minus square feet. Is that right?
Yes.
And what is the size of the new proposed garage?
The new garage is 439 square feet, and it is approximately 21 foot, it's basically 21 by 21.
Okay, I think, to be exact, on it says 21.2 feet by 20.7 feet. Does that sound right?
Sure.
Now, the property is a corner lot, the corner of East Elmira Street and Wilson Place, correct?
Yep.
And the access to the proposed garage would be from Wilson Place, right?
That's correct. The same place that the old garage was accessed by.
Right. Now, the proposed garage requires variances, as I said, for front, side, and rear yard setbacks as well as for building coverage on the lot. Let's take each one by one, and I'd like to compare what the setbacks were for the old garage versus the new garage, and what's required in the zone.
Would you like me to share my screen so we can look at the plan while we discuss it?
That'd be great.
Outstanding. Hold on, please.
Mark, whatever we put up, we're gonna mark. So these were the plans that were handed in?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
We're just gonna mark the whole set A1.
Okay.
And what's the revision date on, the last revision date?
I'm not sure if there is one, but
Okay. What's the date of the plans?
there is no date on the plan.
Oh, all right.
2/2/21, February 2nd,
Oh,
2021.
There it is. I'm sorry. That's typically not the date on some of my title blocks.
What was it? I'm sorry.
2/2/21.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
My apologies.
No problem.
And just to point out, as per Mr. Marucci's report regarding the application, he had requested, he gave some history of the property. The old garage has actually been removed, as we stated, and the foundation of the new garage is up. It's existing.
Correct.
As shown on the plan.
That is correct.
And Mr. Marucci requested an updated survey showing the actual setbacks of the foundation for the new garage, which we did submit, which hopefully you have. Maybe we need to mark that, because the proposed setbacks that are in the zoning legend on this plan that's posted right now are not accurate based on the updated survey.
All right, so we'll mark the new survey that everybody should have gotten. I forwarded it in an email. We'll mark that A2.
You want me to share that now?
That's fine.
Survey dated September 12th, 2021.
Thank you.
Uh-oh, I lost it.
That's okay, take your time.
Oh, shoot. Sorry. Can you see it here?
Yes.
Great.
Okay, so let's start with the front yard setback. The front yard setback of the old garage was 7.39 feet, is that correct?
The setback of the
Old garage, that's in it was shown as existing in the zoning legend under plan.
yes,
7.39 feet versus 20 feet required.
correct.
Okay. And what is the proposed setback for the new garage, front yard?
5.15. I'm going to go back to the other plan because you can see better here. This dash line indicates the old garage and old impervious area. So you can see how this heavy black line is the new detached garage.
Except that the front yard setback shown there is not accurate based on the updated survey.
Correct, and neither is the side yard setback.
Right. Okay. So it's, in actuality, it's 5.15 feet, correct?
Yes.
So the old garage was an existing non-conformity as far as the front yard setback, which we propose to reduce that setback by about 2.25 feet.
Correct.
And just as an aside, I mean, this is a corner lot, which is why it has two front yard setbacks. That's why that's a 20-foot setback. Normally that would be a 5-foot side yard setback.
Correct.
So let's go to the rear yard now. The old garage has a rear yard setback of 0.77 feet, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what is the proposed rear yard setback?
1.23.
Okay. And 5 feet is required, right?
Correct.
So again, we had an existing non-conforming rear yard setback that is is still non-conforming.
Correct.
And we now go to the side yard. What was the existing side yard of the old garage?
3.6 feet,
Okay, and newly proposed?
3.65.
Okay, so again, it's roughly the same as had existed before. In fact, it's slightly less non-conforming.
Slightly,
And that's also a 5-foot required setback, correct?
correct.
All right, so now we have the total building coverage. With the old garage, the percentage of building coverage was 31.6%.
I believe that is correct.
And 25% is the maximum, right?
Correct.
Okay, and what are we proposing with the new garage? What's the total building coverage?
39.16.
Okay, so again, we had an existing non-conforming situation, which is, we've increased the building coverage by 7.2, I'm sorry, 7.56%.
Yes.
So an exhibit is, again, an existing non-conforming that we've made somewhat more non-conforming. However, the total lot coverage, the impervious coverage that you've shown on the plan has actually gone down slightly, is that correct?
That is correct.
It was, with the old garage, it was 52.6%, and as proposed, with the new garage, 52.33%, right?
Correct.
And why is that? What was removed?
There was a lot of impervious, other existing concrete walks and things like that. So if you see here on this plan, sort of this dashed area here was all impervious.
Okay,
And then there was this walkway that went all the way to the house. And as you can see by the survey, all of that is now gone. So this concrete is gone, and the other concrete that was around this garage. So we ended up removing a lot of impervious coverage.
So basically the expansion, the bulk of the expansion of the garage was toward the interior of the lot, toward the rear of the existing dwelling, right?
Correct.
And somewhat expanded toward Wilson Place.
Correct.
And the setbacks in the rear and side were virtually maintained.
Correct.
So we're not losing any green area with this proposal.
That's correct.
So just to summarize on the setback issues, where the reduction of the setback was really the front yard setback by a little more than 2 feet. We actually increased the setback ever so slightly in the rear and the side yard. Right?
Yep.
And the building coverage has been increased by 7.5%, but the overall impervious coverage has actually gone down slightly. Is that right?
That is correct.
Have you seen Mr. Marucci's report?
Yes.
Application, and he raised two questions he had with respect to the roof eave of the proposed new garage along the rear property line, whether that encroached onto the adjoining property. Can you comment on that?
Certainly. So our roof eave and gutter will be less than the 1.23 feet that we have between our building and the property line. We will construct that more or less for a total of about a foot. So we'll be 0.23 feet inboard of the side of the rear property line.
Okay, so there won't be any encroachment there.
No.
And he also asked about the roof runoff from the garage, the proposed garage. How will that be handled?
So, we were originally proposing to do splash blocks, but we are open to putting in a dry well if the engineer would prefer that we handled it that way.
Is it fair to say that the non-conformities that we have in connection with this, with respect to setbacks and the building coverage are a function of the undersized nature of this property?
Yes.
In your opinion, were there any benefits to the granting of the variances?
Well, certainly improving an existing dilapidated garage with a clearly more functional two-car garage.
And there's adequate room in the interior of the property, in your opinion, to accommodate the size of the new garage?
Yes.
Do you see any detriment in the granting of the variances to the surrounding area or to the zoning scheme in the area?
I do not.
And it's basically because of the prior garage was in essence in the same location, except for the expansion into the interior of the property, correct?
Correct.
No further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Can we, remove the?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Can we remove the share screen? So
I
we
have
can
a question on the survey.
Oh,
Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm just wondering, at the bottom left side, it says property is subject to a driveway agreement recorded. What is that about?
That's with respect to the adjoining neighbor on that side. The neighbor's driveway, they have an easement for a portion of the driveway which is on this property along the westerly property line.
oh, I can show, it's on my other, I believe it's on the other, oh no, it's not. Thought I saw it somewhere.
Okay.
It doesn't impact the proposed garage at all. It's the neighbor's driveway along the westerly property line.
Okay.
Oh, here it is.
He's got a 2.5 foot easement, right to use a portion of the property for his driveway.
Oh, I see, on the left-hand side there.
Yep, right on the bottom here.
Yeah, I see. Got it.
Question I have is, do I understand that the foundation is already built?
That's correct.
And was that built without a zoning permit?
That's correct. And in fact, the garage was framed, and when notified, the applicant took it down. But Mr. Marucci allowed him to leave the foundation pending this application.
All right. And I just don't see it addressed in the variance table, but for a property, this is a two-family home, is that correct?
Good question.
Anyone hear me?
Two-family zone, I don't,
If I may, Mr. Chairman, it's a two-family zone, it's an R2B zone, but it's a single-family dwelling.
Single-family dwelling, and how many parking spaces would that require under our ordinance?
Two.
Two. So would these 2 parking spaces then be, as required, be satisfied by the proposed garage? I mean, I'm asking the architect, really, Mr. Marucci's not under oath yet.
You're asking me if a 2-car garage will satisfy the requirement for 2 parking spaces for the property?
Yeah?
Yes.
And the former dilapidated garage, did that satisfy 2 parking spaces?
I believe it had a 2-car garage, and then it had a paved area to the left of it, so I'm gonna say officially no.
Other questions for it?
Mr. Chairman, I do have a couple questions to the architect. Ms. Palermo, just wanted to be clear, are you also expanding the driveway apron? I'm looking at Google Maps, I will admit, and it looks like the previous curb cut
was not
for 1 car, was for a single car, and now that you've got a 2-car garage being proposed, you're expanding the driveway as well as the curb cut?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And then one other thing that I was a little unclear about in your testimony, you were talking about decreasing the impervious coverage by removing, and this is the part I'm not clear about, it sounds like there was a walkway. I don't know if you mean a sidewalk that extended along Wilson Place, along the side of the yard. When I look at Google Maps, I don't see a sidewalk there, so I'm wondering, was it removed, or was there never a sidewalk there?
So there was a sidewalk, but it wasn't a traditional sidewalk like along the curb line of the street. It's a walkway basically from the side of the house to the 1-car garage.
Okay, and so there was no walkway that extended to the curb?
Correct.
Okay, all right. So basically what, in this case, pedestrians always had to walk into the street in order to get to the end to the corner, essentially?
Correct.
Okay. All right, I'm clear on that, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Mr.
Ms. Palermo, I don't know if you know, but what is the traffic like? And would there be an issue with both pedestrian foot traffic and vehicle traffic with the cars coming in and out of the garage? Visibility and safety?
So I don't know what the traffic is like. I will say that for at least 1/2 of the garage, the condition is pretty much the same as the original single car garage. So I don't think that it's going to, I don't believe that we're really increasing any detriment in that way. There are no sidewalks here. So there wouldn't be, you wouldn't be expected to have foot traffic on the property when you're backing out of the garage. There is a garage directly adjacent to this garage on the other property. Although it's set much further back from the street.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Other questions? Does any member of the public have a question for this witness?
No.
No? No? Thank you, Ms. Palermo. Back to you, Mr. Marion.
But I have no further witnesses, Mr. Chairman.
All right, well, then we'll hear from Mr. Marucci, we'll hear from the public, and then we'll do the opportunity to summarize. Mr. Marucci, raise your right hand.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Just state your name for the record.
Anthony Marucci.
Thank you, Anthony.
Mr. Chair and members of the board, you have my report dated July 16, 2021. this matter actually did start as a violation. The applicant purchased the property. There was a one-vehicle garage in the rear of the property, and he decided to remove the garage and began constructing a two-car garage. He actually had it framed up. I believe I gave you photographs of it in my report, attached to my report. And he received violations on it, and he removed the framing. I did allow him to leave the foundation with the understanding that he would come before this board for variances. It is an undersized lot, and it would require, the garage would require variances, no matter if it was a one-vehicle garage or a two-vehicle garage. I was concerned as to the location of the foundation. That's why I asked for the new survey, because in the existing condition, prior to the removal of the existing garage, the rear setback was only 0.77 feet. At that point, I didn't know where the foundation was located, and that 0.77 feet concerned me, because when you look at the design by Ms. Palermo, the roof eaves, they actually extend almost a foot. So the roof would actually be over the property line onto the neighbor's property. Now that I have the new survey, the actual foundation is set back 1.23 feet, and as Ms. Palermo testified, she can fit the roof and the gutter within that 1.2 feet. So there would be no encroachment. I do have a concern with drainage, because just running the leader drains down to splash plots, you're basically on the property line, and I'm concerned with the drainage going on to the neighbor's property. So I am going to recommend, if the board approves the application, to put a dry well in, and the dry well can be in the front of the garage, with the design where if it should overflow, it would overflow out to the street, or it could be on the inside in the lawn area. But obviously, there's no room on the other side. And yes, they would have to widen the curb cut in this case in order to accommodate a two-vehicle garage. And a single-family home does require 2 parking spaces. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Marucci. Anyone have a question for Mr. Marucci?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. Alrighty, quick question for you. Is there any concern with flooding on the neighboring property?
Well, that's why I'm recommending, now that there's sufficient space, I'm recommending that those roof drains from that side of the property be brought underground into a dry well on the opposite side.
Okay.
So it will not affect the neighbor.
Okay, that's the dry well. All right. Should there be, in your opinion, any kind of foliage or buffer?
To the neighbor?
Yeah.
There's no room for it. There's only,
A visibility issue too, maybe?
I'm sorry?
Is there a visibility issue, or just no room if they extended that far?
Well, the garage was, there was a garage there before, and it didn't affect anybody. Wilson Place doesn't get a lot of traffic. It's a side street. It does not get any traffic. It's not like a through street, so I don't have any issues with visibility there.
Okay, thanks.
No? Go ahead, Mr. Bellman. You're on mute, Mr. Bellman. You're on mute.
You're on mute, Mr. Balnicki.
Mr. Marucci, you mentioned the placement of the dry well, either on the property or, to the side of the garage, or I guess under the entrance to the garage. That would, if this application were approved with the condition of a dry well, that location would then come back to your office?
Yes.
Okay.
As long as the board makes the condition, I want to see the design of the dry well and sized accordingly, and location-wise, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of questions, if I might.
Go ahead, Mr. Rubin.
Mr. Rucci, the survey that was submitted in the notch in the northwest corner of the dwelling says a shed, and your photos show a deck. I suspect that if the deck was installed, it would need a side yard setback variance.
The deck was installed at the same time as the garage was being constructed, and again, was part of the violation, and the applicant removed the deck.
Okay, so the deck is gone now?
The deck is gone.
All right, the second question I have is, they removed a walkway leading from the garage to the entrance on the side of the house, at least between the garage and the rear of the house, they removed that part of it. And given that I heard that there's no sidewalks along Wilson, in that Wilson Place, and that, at least along their property line, do you think there should be that sidewalk, there should be some pathway between the garage and the house?
Well, it's a single-family home, and the owner can put those slate blocks if they want to, or a sidewalk. It's their preference. They can walk on grass. It's on their property. It's not, when we say sidewalk, it's not a public sidewalk. It's on
I
their
know that,
property.
but it's just a paved walkway leading from the garage that used to be there that was removed. That's the only reason I even thought of it, was because it was removed.
If the board wants to make that a condition to put that back, I have no problem with that. But again, that's really the applicant. It's a single-family home. It's up to the applicant.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Any other questions for us? Does any member of the public have a question?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I did want to just kind of tag on to the end of that, to Mr. Rubin's comments there. Mr. Marucci, so there would be, in terms of the walkway along Wilson Place, there would be no public right-of-way or whatever along that street that requires a sidewalk?
Again, Wilson Place is a side street, and the town has never put sidewalks in. If the town were to put sidewalks in, they'd be within the right-of-way. But the town has not done that.
Okay.
There are no sidewalks on Wilson Place.
Well, actually, there is. Because, when I look at the Google Maps, there's sidewalk on the opposite side that extends the entire length. And then there's a sidewalk that extends up to the property, up to this applicant's property, and then that sidewalk just ends.
I know there's no sidewalk on this property, and in all honesty, you know that I have not been in town because of my situation, so I have not been on Wilson Place in over a year and a half right now. But I know that there is no sidewalk along this property.
Okay.
I mean, if the board wants to make, if there's sidewalk beyond this property that they could tie into, and the board wants to make that a condition, that would be okay. But I don't know if there's anything to tie into it. I'm not sure if there is sidewalk continuing from this property going north.
There is actually. Yeah, the sidewalk literally ends right at the property line of this application. And there is a sidewalk on the opposite side that extends the entire length of the block.
Well, again, if the board wants to make that a condition, then the applicant would have to put a sidewalk in to our specifications, to our standards.
Mr. Chairman, if I may comment?
Go ahead.
Mr. Marucci, given that it was a pre-existing condition and there is no sidewalk there, the garage was pre-existing and there is no sidewalk there, wouldn't putting the sidewalk now cross in front of the driveway? Up in front of the garage, rather?
Well, it would, but it would be within the town's right of way. It would be towards the curb area, where the curb area is. So it wouldn't be on the on their property. In other words, there's that section, there's that area between the curb and the right-of-way, that's where the sidewalk would go.
Yeah.
It would cross the driveway, yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it'll be right next to, on top of the driveway, wouldn't it?
No, it would be beyond the 5 feet.
Beyond the 5 feet?
Yes, it would be beyond the 5 feet.
Oh, okay. I guess my looking at it, I did not realize it's that far away. Okay.
Yeah, it would be beyond.
Okay, no problem.
Any other questions?
Quick question, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Mr. Marucci, given the option of the dry well, are there any, is there any recommendation you prefer to see, or is there any difference, or is it really preference in terms of
Another
on the
option,
property?
another option for drainage?
No, I'm just saying, you outlined two options. I think one was on the draining overflow into the property itself, and the other one into the street. Is there a preference that you would have from an engineering perspective?
Well, what I said was they could put the dry well in that 5-foot area in front of the garage. And if the dry well overflowed, it would overflow out towards the street. Or they could put the dry well on the side of the garage in their lawn area. Either way would work. It's the same. It's the actual dry well that has to be designed. It could work in either area.
Okay, but there's no preference from your engineering perspective.
No, I would leave that up to their architect.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Mr. Marucci, I don't know if I'm missing something here on the plans that were submitted. But do we see on the plans anywhere the definition of the driveway from the garage to the street? What the driveway apron looks like on the public right of way?
The plan, the architect's site plan does not show the curb, the town curb. The town curb will be outside of the property line that's shown on Wilson Place. The curb would...
Correct me, but wouldn't they have to, on the site plan, detail out how they're impacting the curb, the township's curb, and how they're constructing an apron, and how they're constructing perhaps a piece of the driveway that has to cross your public property?
Well, again, it's a single-family home, so it wasn't really a site plan. That can be taken care of upon your approval when they go to engineering to widen the curb. If the board puts the condition on to put the sidewalk in, they would have to show that on the plan.
I lost you, Mr.
Again, because it's a single-family home, it's not really considered a site plan.
Right.
The architect didn't show it, but again, if the board approves it and they need to widen the curb cut, they'll have to show that detail to get a permit from engineering to widen the driveway.
So, should the board decide to approve this, would you then recommend that we condition it upon them installing a driveway from the garage to the street and include appropriate apron and other features conforming to the township requirements?
Absolutely, subject to engineering, yes.
If I may, It's on our cover sheet. The details.
I know, but that still has to be submitted to engineering.
Of course.
They'll work with you on that.
Of course.
Mr. Marucci, do you have any recommendation as to whether a sidewalk should be required or not?
I'd like to have an opportunity to inspect the site to see where the sidewalk ends now, both on East Elmira and also on Wilson. If this is the only property that does not have a sidewalk, then they should have a sidewalk to complete it. Mr. Johnson says the sidewalk, if I'm correct, Mr. Johnson says the sidewalk ends at the end of the property on Wilson?
Correct.
Then
And I was saying, it exists on the other side of Wilson as well, on the other side of the streets.
Would it be helpful if I share the screen, Mr. Marucci, so you can see?
I was just gonna say that, Mr. Wayne.
Okay, yeah, we just, I figured we've done it before. Do it real quick here. Yeah, let me zoom back out just so you can see both sides. So if you see this is what, are you able to see my screen?
I see it, and I see there's sidewalk on East Elmira, and then there's also sidewalk at the end of the property, so it should be continued.
Yeah, it's the only property on that street actually without any sidewalk.
If the board wants to make it a condition, then it should be connected.
Yeah, I think it would also help with what Mr. Rubin was saying before too. It would allow a connection from the garage, but again, that's not really. I don't know if that was a condition.
Any other questions for Mr. Marucci? Does any member of the public have a question for me?
I don't see anyone.
Thank you, Mr. Marucci.
Well,
Is there any member of the public who wishes to be sworn in and provide testimony?
No?
Hearing no one. Mr. Mariansky, give you the opportunity to summarize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The variances that we're requesting are, I would submit, are de minimis violations, particularly taking into account what was there before with the old garage. We've actually increased setbacks slightly on the side and the rear. The only impact really of the expansion of the garage is the front yard setback of Wilson Place, which we're only reducing by just over 2 feet. The rest of the expansion is in the interior of the property and not impacting any adjoining properties. And that enables us to provide 2 off-street parking spaces for the single-family home on the site. We feel that there's definitely a benefit to the application, to the proposal, which outweighs any detriment. We don't believe there's any detriment. And we ask that you approve the variances in the application subject to Mr. Marucci's recommendations. Thank you.
Public hearing is closed. Board, time for discussion, please.
I can give a few comments, Mr. Chairman, if you'd like.
Go ahead, Mr. Wayne.
I would say, I think it's an in-place replacement. However, I think that given the fact that it's going to require, it requires a new apron, a new curb cut, a driveway, a portion of driveway and concrete. I would be in favor of adding a sidewalk or adding that as a condition to the application, given the circumstances.
Mr. Chairman, I would concur with Mr. Wagner. In general, with respect to the application, I do like the fact that they removed what was essentially a non-functional, outdated garage, and they're replacing replacing it with a new two-car garage, which is more in compliance with a single-family home. I understand that this is a small lot, and, you know, pretty much anything that you put on property is going to encroach on impervious surfaces. So with respect to the garage, you know, I approve the two-car garage with the conditions as set forth by Mr. Wagner.
So the completion of the sidewalk all the way on Wilson to Elmira and the addition of the dry well?
Right, well, yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Other discussion, board? Hearing no one, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the application with the conditions of a sidewalk pending approval by engineering, as well as dry well pending approval by engineering.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Mr. Chairman, I will second that.
All right, Mr. Johnson, second. Mr. Bender, please call the roll.
Okay, Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Prince?
Yes.
Mr. Valnicki?
Yes.
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Chairman Machowski?
Yes, the application is approved with conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. All right. Board, we're on the last application for this evening, old business. Item 4E, the application of Daniel Shishio as applicant and owner for bulk variances and any such other relief that may be required from the zoning ordinance of the Township of Bloomfield to construct a first floor addition of a residential one-family R1A zone on premises known as map 29, block 786, lot 32, better known as 337 Essex Avenue. Is the applicant here, or does the applicant have counsel report?
Good evening, Chairman. My name is Frank Materia. I represent the applicant, Mr. Daniel Sergio, in this application for a one-story extension in his backyard. My client is here, Mr. Daniel Sergio is here, and also our expert witness, the architect, Mr. Osvaldo Martinez. I see that he's here as well. Thank you so much, and I will try to make this as fast as possible because I know it's past my way. So, and this is new explored territory state of this. I like this application. My client, Mr. Daniel Sergio, has been a resident of Bloomfield for over 50 years. He wants to remain in Bloomfield. He loves the community, loves his home that he's had for years. And when my client came to me, he said, "Fine, I'm getting older. I don't want to stay in my house." So he had decided that he wants to build a first floor master bedroom where he can be able to navigate his home as he gets older, because he goes, "Frank, I'm old." So you're not old yet, but I understand why he wants to have a first floor bedroom suite where he's going to have all his amenities on the first floor, but as the years pass, he does not have to negotiate the stairway. The application it's approximately a 160 square foot extension. I've reviewed the recommendations of Mr. Marucci, but at first I would like to introduce and provide the qualifications of our expert, Mr. Osvaldo Martinez.
All right.
Mr. Martinez, raise your right hand.
Right hand, sir.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Just state your name for the record.
Osvaldo Martinez, Martinez.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Go ahead.
Osvaldo, thank you. Before the board, please provide your educational background and your license and professional background.
I am a New Jersey and New York licensed architect for over 20 years now. My license is currently under good standing. I have testified before numerous boards throughout the state of New Jersey and New York for the past 20 years. And I would respectfully ask that this board approves me as a professional witness.
Any discussion, board? Board will accept Mr. Martini as an expert in our.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Osvaldo, as I'm sure I have quoted you, Mr. Marucci, with our engineer's report. You have been hired to draw these beautiful plans. Describe to me what you do. What are the first floor bedroom amenities?
I'll be happy to do that. If I may, I'm going to share my screen as we speak.
Thank you.
Welcome. So in the interest of time, because
Before we begin, this needs to be marked, your plans will be marked as A1. Okay?
Yes, A1, thank you.
You're welcome. So in the interest of time, just like Mr. Materia said, it is past my bedtime as well. I'll go through this as quickly as possible. If anyone on the board has any questions, I will be happy to answer them for you. So as you see before you, sheet A1, actually before I go there, I'd like to mention that Mr. Marucci's report was very comprehensive. So I think what I'll do is I'll go through that. That will answer his questions and hopefully answer any of the board's questions as well. So basically the property is located in what is known as an R1A single-family residential zone. The permitted lot coverage in that zone is permitted building coverage in that zone is 20%. The existing lot coverage is 22.5, so we are currently exceeding before this addition. Excuse me.
So, not to interrupt you, so that's already an existing non-conforming, correct?
It is an existing non-conforming, yes. We are proposing, this application is rather simple. We're just proposing to fill in the right rear corner of this existing home with a single story bedroom addition. It's approximately 160 square feet, just 12.3 feet by 12.8 feet. If I go to sheet A2 here, you'll see that the existing first floor plan of the home. So we have, just like most of the homes in Bloomfield, an existing living room, dining room, family room, and an existing kitchen with a small existing bathroom with a small shower just off the kitchen. What we're proposing to do is square off the rear right-hand corner of the home with a bedroom at this lower level so that our client does not have to go upstairs, and he will have a bedroom at this ground floor, as well as a proposed walk-in closet and a bathroom with a bathtub. Again, this will be, let's go to the sheet A3. We're not proposing to increase the building height. This is an existing two-story frame dwelling, so this proposed addition is just a single-story addition at the rear right-hand corner of the home. We're not exceeding the existing height. We're just looking to fill in that right-hand corner. Now with that, we do, let's go back to sheet A1 and our zoning table, zoning compliance table. We see what's required by Bloomfield, and we do comply. Everything we have is existing and conforming. Of course, once we put this addition on, the only thing we don't comply with is the existing building coverage, side yard setback, and total combined side yard setback.
And Ozzy, may I just interrupt you just, because that's a great point. So the total building coverage is currently non-conforming at 22.5, and we're increasing it to 25.3. So that's an increase of 2.8%, correct?
Correct, yes.
And the side yard setback, I believe it's 6, and we're at the currently non-conforming 5.63.
Yes.
So it would be about 4.9.
4.9, just under 5 feet, yes.
So that's 1.1.
And the other side is existing, and we can't change that. That would remain the same.
So, okay, understood. Thank you.
Let me just point out that our maximum lot coverage, however, remains the same. We're allowed 45, and we're at 43.2%, and we will not exceed that. We'll go to about 45%, and so the maximum lot coverage will not exceed what's required in Bloomfield.
Good. Now, Ozzy, when the foundation, it's not going to be, describe the foundation. It's going to be a crawl space or a full basement?
If we go to sheet A2, I'm sorry, yes. The foundation is not going to be a full basement foundation as required by the International Building Code. We'll just be digging down the actual area of the footing, just the perimeter of this addition, which is about 3 feet in perimeter, and that's all we're really digging out. Any soil that we pull out of the site, and again, this would go back to Mr. Marucci's report. Any soil that we're pulling out, which is de minimis. Again, we're not putting in a full basement. Will either get taken out of the site or just get put into this crawl space, and will not affect any of the existing neighbors in any way.
Or you don't see any drainage issues from us increasing it, putting this one extension.
Right.
Extension.
And that's pretty much it. I mean, we're proposing that once again to just fill in that rear right side corner with a bedroom for this gentleman. He doesn't want to climb stairs anymore. A walk-in closet and a bathroom for him. And that's basically all we want to do.
Thank you, Ozzy. And so part of application as iterated by Ozzy and by Engineer Marucci, this is a good plan. We do require a variance for building coverage because we are increasing it to 2.8%, and side yard variance at a total side yard.
Correct. So 3 in total, yes. Again, the left side is one that we're not, it's existing and we can't do anything about that.
Correct. And we're going to match, I think it also on the plan, once we build this, with approval, of course, of the zoning board and building, once that gets built, we're going to match all the material to the existing building. So it blends in nicely.
And again, something I want to point out, if we go back to sheet A1, it's a factor, the fact that this site is not rectangular, and I'd like to point out the right side property line, it's sort of tapering in, so there's really not much we could do. If this property line and this property was rectangular, we wouldn't be here today.
Right.
We would not ask for this variance. We would be conforming.
Thank you, Ozzy.
You're welcome. And that's pretty much it. I mean, if the board has any questions in particular for me, I'll be happy to answer them for you.
Board, questions for the architect, please?
other than way to get a cup of coffee at this time.
No coffee, then I can't go to sleep.
I can use a cup, that's for sure.
Questions for it?
Mr. Chairman, I think just a very quick question. On the foundation of that addition, I think you said it's 3 feet high. It's kind of more of a crawl space. Is that?
It is a base. It's a 3 foot deep, and it's what's required by the International Building Code. Below line, and yes.
And it looked like there was an entrance into that crawl space. Is that just to be used as storage potentially?
Exactly, 100%. That's all that would be. It's not a basement, it's just a storage area.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Does any member of the public have a question for this witness?
Yeah. I don't see anybody's hands.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Martino. Do you have any other witnesses?
No, sir, that was our only witness.
All right. And what we'll do is we'll hear from Mr. Marucci. After that, I'll find out if the public has anything to say, and after that, we'll give you the opportunity to sign for the board. So with that, Mr. Marucci, raise your right hand.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Just say your name for the record.
Anthony Marucci.
Thank you, Anthony.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, as the applicant's architect testified, and the applicant testified, obviously, if he wants to have a bedroom on the first floor, the only place to construct it is in that rear corner and square it off. And that creates both the lot cover, the building coverage variance and the side yard. And I do agree that the property is not rectangular. It's actually rectangular on the left side, but the right side tapers in, which creates the lesser side yard setback as you go back further. So that's the reason for the variances. I have no engineering issues with this application. I do have that one condition that obviously all the excavated material has to be removed off-site because we don't want to change any drainage patterns to the neighbors.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Any
That's all I
questions?
have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Marucci. Any questions for Mr. Marucci? Anyone? Any member of the public have a question for Mr. Marucci? I hear no one. Thank you, Mr. Marucci. All right. Is there any member of the public who wishes to be sworn in and provide testimony? Monty Bell?
Yes. Correct.
Yes.
Raise your right hand, be sworn in, please.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Can you just state your name and address for the record?
Matthew Meisel, 342 Essex Avenue.
Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, just want to express my support for the applicant's application this evening for the reasons that he outlined.
And what's the relationship of your property to the applicant's property?
I live across the street.
All right, thank you. Anyone have a question for this witness? I hear no one. Thank you, Mr. Meisel. Anyone else wish to speak? Hearing and seeing no one. What's the name of the counsel for the applicant?
Materia.
Materia, you have the opportunity to summarize, please.
Thank you, sir. Again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. I'll make this very brief. This application, thank you to our architect who beautifully summarized everything that will go into our plan. we will do everything that we can. We will make sure that the dirt does not get transplanted everywhere in the yard. It'll be removed. If it's a minor basement, and just the variance for building coverage, side yard setback, and total front yard setback. I look forward to hearing from the board, hopefully a positive feedback, and we look forward to having my client, David Circle, be able to enjoy his property for many, many, many years. Thank you.
Time for public hearing is closed. Board, who would like to lead off?
Mr. Balnicki?
Chairman?
Balnicki, go ahead.
Yeah, I see no problems at all with this application. It's simple, straightforward, and he's just, all the materials will be blending into the house, and just rear bedroom, first floor, nice walk-in closet, bathroom, everything's laid out for him. So I look very favorably on this application.
Thank you, Mr. Balnicki. Anyone else?
I just, I'll echo that and agree with Mr. Balnicki, but I'd also like to say it's nice to see a member of the public come out in support of an application as well as 10:30 at night.
Thank you.
Agreed.
Welcome to the club.
Go Bloomfield.
Anyone else?
I too, Mr. Chairman, would have no issue with this proposed project.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Anyone else going once, going twice?
Nope.
Hearing no one else, I'll entertain a motion, please.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I will make that motion to approve this application as is.
All right, thank you. For a second?
I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Prince, second. Please call the board.
Okay. Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Prince?
Yes.
Mr. Balnicki?
Yes.
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Chairman Machowski?
Yes, application is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, board. Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
Have a good night, guys.
Have a good night.
Is there any other
Sweet
business?
dreams, everyone.
No,
Bye-bye.
I just have to say I'm very proud of this board tonight. 5 on, 5 done, 5 approved. It couldn't be any more beautiful tonight.
And as a Bloomfield kid, I couldn't be prouder of them. Have a good night, everybody.
You too.
Good night.
Nicole, does this mean there are other days you are not proud of this board?
There are some days that I am so disgusted at these meetings, I can't wait to get the hell out of here. But tonight was not bad at all.
Any other business, board?
None.
None. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Balnicki moves, is there a second?
I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
Prince seconds, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there anyone opposed? Hearing no one opposed, we are adjourned.
Thank you, guys.
Good night.
This was well worth it tonight. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you all.
Good night.